All right, welcome everybody. We're here live tonight, and let's see if we can get this going on. We can. Let's go here. Welcome to the place. And we're here tonight to. All right. All right, we're here, and good to be here tonight. So hopefully you're doing good, and if you're not, we're going to be praying for you. If I can ever get on here really good, really nice.
Line unmuted.
All right, everybody, I made it. I actually made it. Wow, it's amazing. Yeah, it was really amazing. I'm here. All right, so good to be here with everybody, and hopefully you're doing okay. If not, we'll be praying, believing God to share things with you that we believe are important to maybe help build you up a little bit, kind of let you know what's happening, what we think is happening, what we and the Lord, me and the Lord, and my part of knowing what's happening. And so we're glad to be here to be able to let you know about that and be a part of what God's doing. So make sure and ask questions tonight. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, maybe we can have some answers for you, hopefully. And there's a whole lot going on. So welcome to the place. Yeah. All right. Let's see what's happening here. All right. So, we have an ongoing war with Israel and Iran. That's kind of crazy. And anybody have any ideas where we're at on all that? That would be great. We get to kick that around a little bit and see what's happening with that. So, yeah, so let's talk about things and get things out in the open, whatever it is you want to share, whatever it is you feel like that needs to be brought out into the open. And yeah, we can go with that. All right. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about wolves tonight. I know I've talked about it before, but I want to just kind of bring a little bit about that tonight and share that. I'm going to do that here in just a moment as we get going on. But we've talked about the number 13, of course, and 13 has become kind of an amazing thing for me, at least. And I know for many of you too, the same thing. So, really, really, really cool how God is doing stuff and how things are just cooking really right now. I mean, things are really cooking right now. So, yeah, it's really, really big. And those of you who are keeping up and you're interested in the end times, we all wonder, where are we at with all this stuff, right? That's what I wonder. Where are we with all this stuff? And so that's what we're wanting to find out. Asking the Lord what's going on. And so if you have any opinions about that, let me know. Tonight I'm going to share a couple different things. Um, and so, yeah. All right. All right. Let's do this. Yeah. All right. All right. Kind of see what's going on here. Give me a second here to figure this out. Um, We're a little bit late tonight. Seem to be doing that on Tuesdays lately for some reason. Not sure exactly what's going on with all that, but we're going to make it. That's for sure. All right. We have so much I want to share with you. I'm trying to figure out which thing to go with first. So it's really, really interesting how that Donald Trump today sent out a President Trump escalating threats against Iran uh, and public flirtation with joining Israel's bombing campaign against the country have reawakened a long dormant debate on Capitol Hill about clawing back Congress's power to declare war. Um, in the House, a Democrat and Republican teamed up on Tuesday, introduced a resolution that would require congressional approval before U.S. troops could engage in offensive attacks against Iran. The measure by Representative from California, Democrat, talk about all this stuff. Anyway, here we go. We're seeing what's going on with this. So you can see that they're kind of talking about all this and debating all of it about war because war is on the horizon right now. It's kind of what's happening with people. We're kind of working through the war strategies and what's going on. You know, one of the things that I am really heavy on right now that I think we're going to see happen in the future, the near future, is what's really happening with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, um, has really been at some things, to say the least. And so I think I'm going to kind of cover some of that tonight because I know I want to document these things. So tonight might be documentation night. So you might want to uh, take a break or listen real close, one or the other. Um, so I think that there's a strategic position of Iran. Of Azerbaijan. Number one, I got these notes so I won't forget anything. Hopefully, um, that Iran and Azerbaijan are neighbors. And you have to think about this. We talked about this before, but what really happened with the Iranian president? So you're talking about a president, not a governor, not some wealthy businessman, but you're talking about the president of Iran was killed the very same day that him and the Azerbaijan president were meeting at a cooperation thing they were doing together on a dam that's on the border of Azerbaijan and Iran. All right. So it's interesting how that the very same day that you have pictures of, and I've got some of those pictures of where they were at the dam, and the dam was right on the border of Azerbaijan and Iran, and you have the president of Azerbaijan there, Aliyev. I did research on him like back in 2007, 2008, something like that back then. And then the Lord began to speak to me, and then He started showing me things that were going to happen with Azerbaijan in the future, which shockingly seems to be happening right now. And that's why I want to focus on that a little bit. I know everybody's talking about everything else, but I want to look at the bigger strategy going on here. I've already gotten a little bit of trouble over sharing some of this stuff, so pray for me as I share things that we will find ourselves able to, um, you know, uh, share things properly in proper timing. And so it's really, really big for me that I do all that proper timing thing. Timing is everything as far as, especially with information. But we saw where 34 days before the Iranian president went down in the helicopter, um, in Azerbaijan, and then we gave a word, uh, the word that we gave 34 days before that on uh, April the 15th, because it happened on May the 19th. On April the 15th, we gave that word. Now I'm going to put the pieces of the puzzle together for some of you that are interested, and those who. But anyway, I'm going to document this, so that's one reason I'm doing it right now. So so we're going to piece the puzzle together and start to show you what's going on and has been going on behind the scenes for a while, and I've known about it because God showed me, and then when some things unfolded, then I've had the freedom to talk about it, right, for the first time in since 2007, however long that's been, 2008, when I got this information and shared it with Mike and Cindy Jacobs and some others. I don't remember who all they were, but I know I shared it with Mike because he was like kind of confused that I was talking about Azerbaijan. All right, so and most of the stuff we've talked about already a little bit, but I'm going to try to piece it together for you. So, 34 days before the Azerbaijan and president of Iran meeting at the dam in Azerbaijan and Iran on the border of those two countries, uh, christening a new dam that they were going to share. Um, that we said that um, Iran would be taken down through Azerbaijan. All right, so we documented that right then, and we also talked about in the same night, a few minutes before that, that Iran would have their nuclear facilities attacked by Israel, which has never happened before. Never happened before. God showed me that also in 2007, 2008. And I saw like a bomb that looked like it started an earthquake, or an earthquake started at the same time the bomb did, or it was a earthquake bomb or bomb earthquake or something. I couldn't tell what it was, but then we shared that 34 days before that, and then 34 days later, the Azerbaijani president is standing there at the site where they're dedicating with the president of Iran. And, after they left, less than a few minutes, he was dead. He was dead. So when you're talking about presidents and kings and that kind of thing being killed or being, you know, taken out, it's really hard to prove it, because it's something that you don't. It's different than killing one of their nuclear scientists. It's a whole different deal than doing that. So you can't just brag about, oh yeah, we orchestrated the president of Iran to go down in his helicopter, because we take credit for that. They just don't do that. So it's a very difficult thing. But either way, it doesn't make any difference. So the thing is that the president of Azerbaijan and Iran were there together, and then all of a sudden the president of Iran is dead after meeting with the president of Azerbaijan. I thought that was, if anything, was a signal to me, at least, that something was about to go on. And so that's why I came on the show uh, a couple of days, maybe the next day after it happened, and I shared with you guys the strategy of Azerbaijan, which has never been talked about before, ever, that I know of, by anybody. Well, nobody even talked about Azerbaijan. But there was a major strategy going on there, and I knew about it. I didn't know exactly when it's going to be activated or how or what, because I know all the stuff by the Lord. I do not know any of it by myself or necessarily by doing research, but by the Holy Spirit showing me, and that's why I know these things. So I saw a tipping point right there that meant something because of what I already knew. So I came on the show, told you guys to pray for me because I could get in trouble for sharing this information. And I don't know if I got in trouble or not, but a uniformed officer met me, and we talked, and when I don't know, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but so it was, and that was about a week after. So I told you guys to pray for me because I might get in trouble for sharing it. Because what I shared was a strategy that Azerbaijan was going to be used to take over Iran, because Iran and Israel were very, very good friends. Azerbaijan had put in a uh, oil pipeline to Israel, an oil pipeline to the European nations, the EU, several nations in the EU. They also were giving oil to a lot of the China and a lot of those countries, a lot of the Eastern countries. So they had quite a bit of oil. And what was happening was that Russia was being outdone by Azerbaijan. And so now Europe didn't have to depend on Russia solely for fuel and that kind of thing, and neither did a lot of the other countries. So it kind of cut out Russia a bit, and then that started back in 2005, 2006, 2007 is when they did. I didn't know about it till 2007 or 2008. I don't have the exact date, but somewhere in there. So so this whole war thing going on, this thing with Israel and Iran, is all intertwined with this situation of the Azerbaijani president, who's about 63 years old. He was born in 1961. His name is Aliyev, uh, and so you can look him up. And anyway, so this the process that they're doing, and so what we talked to you about was a regime change back then, right? When I shared with you after the Iranian president went down in the helicopter, I shared with you the purpose of that because there was a regime change. In other words, taking down Iran through Azerbaijan was about regime change, not the people, not to destroy the people or hurt the people of Iran, but to start dealing with the regime, the nasty, horrible regime of Iran, just horrible people. And and so I shared it with you, and that's kind of what got me a little more attention. I don't know, it wasn't all that bad, I guess. I don't want to make a big deal of it, like I said, but so I did have a meeting with a uniformed officer after that, and high level, he was considered a hero. This guy was considered a hero of on some things to do with Muslims, to do with America fighting the Muslim terrorist attacks. He was this guy is somewhat of a hero for that. And so I met with him, and about a week and a half or so after my situation with revealing that strategy. So, so when we're watching all this and we're seeing this stuff happen, why President Trump has said today that we know where the head leader of Khomeini, we know where he's at, and but we're not going to kill him. Y'all seen that? Anybody seen that? We know where he's at, but we're not going to go after him. We're not going to kill him. And here's the reason why. They're making it look like other things, but the reason that they're doing it is because they have a planned strategy to take over the regime and going to use Azerbaijan because Azerbaijan is friendly with Israel and Azerbaijan is Muslim, but they're moderate Muslims. They're not radicals. And they've gotten along with Israel for years. Israel and Azerbaijan have shared intelligence together. Israel has helped them in their military with all kinds of weapons, and that it really, really, really friendly. Plus, oil has gone to Israel from there too. Excuse me. So, saying all that, they're very close. So you see Israel now and Trump, little by little, decapitating the leadership, including the president. Which I believe they did it. They can't prove it, but and they'll never admit it. But that they took the president out of Iran, and so you see them decapitating the Iranian regime, except the guy that's the oldest and the ugliest. He's not ugly, but he's ugly as far as mean, and a radical Muslim, and he is he's sick and he's looked like he's dying, and there's a lot of things going on with him, and so what are they doing? They're leaving the guy who's almost dead alone and saying, "We know where you're at, but we're not going to kill you. Well, we could kill you, but we're not going to do that." Is what they're saying, and so it's really interesting how that they're keeping him alive, right? Because he's the main guy. So they're killing all the other leaders and making it almost not impossible, but very hard for any other Iranian leaders to stand up and say, "Yeah, I'll take their position," because they're going to get taken out too. They will get taken out too, or at least the threat of it, and their families, and it's very serious. So the strategies have been amazing in that Israel and some of the U.S. even with Biden was part of it. This is a long term thing. Biden did, and I talked about this. Biden did a lot with Israel. Uh, the news try to make it the Republican news people try to make it look like he didn't, but he really did. Him and Israel together, Biden and Israel together, basically went in and destroyed a lot of their capabilities to fight of what we're doing right now. That all happened during Biden's term. So, there's something deeper going on and they make it political. And I'm just going to go right past the political nonsense and go right for the jugular. Uh, and don't let me forget to talk about the wolf thing tonight, the new wolf thing. Okay, don't let me forget to talk about that. All right, because I got a lot on my head. So thank you for listening closely. And so what's happening is that uh, so is it the end of the world? What's going on? Once if Israel and the U.S. are successful, which it looks they almost already are successful in taking down the leadership, and then little by little doing away with Khomeini, the spiritual leader, the main leader of Iran. When they do away with him, or when he's done away with, they will have already positioned a leader that will be likened to or somewhat approved of or like the Azerbaijan president Ilham, uh, and so they're working on that now. Whether I don't think that uh, if everything really changed big time, Ilham could be the Aliyev could be the president of Iran, but that would be a really big stretch, and it could happen, but it's a really big stretch right now because um, of the rules and the way things work. But listen to this: uh, about 25% of Iranian uh, people are Azerbaijanis. 25%. Okay, that's quite a bit. That's like that's I don't remember exactly how much it is. It's a couple of million, a few million, 15 million, something like that. Let me see if I can find that. Yes, 16 to 24% of Iran's population is uh, Azerbaijan people, though there I think might have been anyway. So 15 to 20 million. That's 15 to 20 million people, which is about 24% of Iran's population is Azerbaijanis. All right, that live there. so so one of the ways that they get their president that they is the people have to vote on it. According to most rules in that country, the people have to vote. Just like in America, you have to have the people vote in the leader. But there are special cases to where they can have outside intervention, like with Israel, and Azerbaijan can be outside, and U.S. could be outside uh, intervener. They could intervene and help with this situation of getting a new president. And of course, you know what that's going to do. They're either going to get and really move a lot of rules around to get Azerbaijan's president in there to be president of Iran. So they're going to get him, or they're going to get somebody really, really close or friendly in his area of his direction, because he's a very moderate Muslim. Like I said, who Israel. If you're friendly with Israel, you're moderate, and they've been really friends. I don't know how about this do business together. They've been friends, so that kind of tells you what's going on there. So uh, yeah, and one of the things that Iran has had a problem with Azerbaijan over the years is they have what they call the Greater Azerbaijan rhetoric. Uh, it's kind of a that's what they call it, and what that means is the Greater Azerbaijan rhetoric. That's what they call it. That's because uh, it stirs up people to come and be a part of Azerbaijan or believe that Azerbaijan is really important, right? That's why they call it the Greater Azerbaijan rhetoric, and it and plus deepening their ties with Israel really aggravated Iran big time. It threatened Iran actually, so that's why I'm talking about all this, because you don't hear anybody talking about this. We're pioneering this because God showed me, other than I would know about it. Okay, so Azerbaijan has very strong ties with Israel's military, intelligence, and good working relations also with Turkey and the West. So it's positioned in a unique regional as a unique regional actor with leverage over Iran. They have leverage over Iran right now. I'm talking about right, and so once let me make a long story short, because I have a lot of specific information I want to share, but I'm going to get to the point with some of you so you can kind of get where this is going. Once this happens and Iran, if it's successful, and Iran is basically taken over through Azerbaijan, and their leadership is a new president and a new leader, and maybe they changed their whole thing, how they work it. Uh, that it will be someone like the Azerbaijani president, uh, something close to that, or be him himself. Right. Once they get that done, uh, it's why they're holding back killing Khamenei is because uh, of that. They're strategizing the whole thing. It's all a strategy to replace the leadership of Iran. It's not because they're being nice or because they're whatever. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's a strategy to make sure that the head is not already ready to be replaced by somebody that will be a better head than the head they have, because they don't want to take a chance on killing Khamenei and then somebody gets in there who's worse than him gets in there, which has happened many times in nations and nations changing nations. It's happened a lot. So you have to look beyond the outer strategy that they make it look like and understand what's really going on. Not that those other things don't matter, but this is the main core of what's happening. Because if they don't change the leadership of Azerbaijan, of Iran, uh, then it's just all just going to start all over again, right? So that they're really being careful. They're taking dominance over Iran. That is, Israel is, and with the United States, obviously, at least appearing to be in there, uh, bigger and bigger with, and more so with Israel than before. And it's the strategy that they're using to let everybody know, letting Iran know, and let all the other countries know around Iran, we are in control here. We have this baby, and don't you dare touch it, and try to get somebody in there to replace the snake head with somebody else that's just like him and a younger person. Don't even try it, because we know everything. This is really what they're saying. Trump kind of said it outright today. He said, "We know where you are. We're not going to kill you, okay, buddy. So relax a little bit, but we're coming." So what is that rhetoric? It's all them saying to the whole world, saying, "Don't anybody try to interfere, because if you do, you might get whacked too. If you try to intervene in our intervention and counter our intervention, we will whack you." Okay, we will whack you. And so once they do this, here's where I want to go with this. I'm going to talk about Russia for a second. I want to talk about Russia for a second. Because once they do this and they do the replacement of him, then Russia is going, the next stage will be Russia uh, maneuvering and doing some things, uh, maneuvering and doing some stuff. So, so once this is completed, you will see Russia begin to make some more moves, um, because its so-called buddy Iran is going to be worthless, because they're going to have new leadership in there that is friendly with the Western countries, um, with Israel, and those places. Okay, anybody hearing me? It doesn't matter whether you hear me or not. I hope you're hearing me, but I'm documenting this information for the purpose of the prophetic and the prophet realm, so that when all this begins to happen, you're going to know that we talked about it. The Lord showed us, and I'm showing you what He's showing me. Okay, and this has been over many years. It just so happened that for some reason, I think Iran had just struck Israel for the first time ever, and then on April the 15th, uh, I think they struck on April the 13th, right? Didn't they strike Israel on the 13th of April? I think they did. Let's look at that for a second. All right. Thank you for that help. All right. April 2024 strike on it. Yeah, it was April the 13th. Now you got to think about that's another 13. That was a really big 13. That's another big 13. We've had a lot of 13s, y'all, and I haven't been able to keep up with all of them. But that was another big 13. All right. So, yeah. So that was April the 13th. And then 2 days later, uh, see, that made that on a Saturday, I think, right? Yeah, 13, 14, 15. Because on the 15th, on Monday, after that strike had happened, and we started talking about that and the fact that it was another 13. And then, on Monday, on the 15th, a couple of days later, I'm on the show, right? And we're rapping a little bit, having some fun, and we're trying to figure out basically the thing that everybody was trying to figure out is how is Israel going to retaliate, right? How is Israel going to retaliate? So when I got on the show, I started talking about two things God had showed me in 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. And one of them was that Israel was going to strike Iran's nuclear sites. And I thought that was kind of a thing of how they would retaliate, right? How they would retaliate because they've never done it before. It's never been done before. And so that's kind of how that came. I remember that kind of going through my mind because the whole world's trying to figure out how they're going to retaliate. Well, that was my retaliation idea, was a prophetic word that I got back in 2007, 2008. So then, in a few seconds later, I'm talking about the next thing God showed me, uh, many years before that, at the same time, that uh, Iran would go down through Azerbaijan. And I said those words. Somehow they would go down. And so 34 days later, on uh, what date was, I got my dates, man. I don't have those dates in front of me. So, but 34 days later, what happened? Uh, Israel, well, I don't want to say Israel did it. Iran went down, or Iran president went down in a helicopter in Azerbaijan. So we just mentioned Azerbaijan 34 days before that, right? I said 33 a couple of months ago, but I went back and counted it. It was 34. So, okay. So, and then we had two words that we gave. That one kind of came to pass, right? Because the Azerbaijan, the president of Iran went down in Azerbaijan along with his other regime staff. And then, I believe that Mossad did it. That's what I believe. I think they had it well planned. I think the Azerbaijan president, because of the words I've had, was complicit with the whole thing, though privately. And little did that guy know, little did Raisi know, the president of Iran, he was fixing to be killed. He didn't know that. Him and his staff were fixing to be killed. And they made it look like it was the helicopter was old. They make it look like a lot of. They're very good. They're very strategic. Uh, and so that happened, right? And so the other thing that began to happen was that hadn't happened yet was the attack of Israel's of Iran's nuclear facilities, right? Yeah, that had not happened yet until the 13th. It happened on the 13th, right, of June. Amazing, all these 13ths. And so we saw that happen, and so uh, they are decapitating basically Israel, and with the help of others in Azerbaijan. And I don't want to name all. I'm having trouble keeping up with all the names in the days like it is because I don't have it right in front of me. So it's like, yeah, interesting. So 13s everywhere, and then all of a sudden, I'm coming on now talking about what's the real strategy behind all of it and why they're not killing uh, the president, the leader of Iran. Okay, all right, okay, all right. So um, people are saying Iran triggers apocalypse. Uh, Israel's army chief ultimate uh, Tel Aviv after 10th missile. Anyway, I don't read all. I'm trying to get at some articles here. All right, so what they're doing is they're working it to where they make sure The reason that Trump is bragging that we can kill you, boy, we can take you out anytime we want to. We know where you're hiding. And so, yeah, unconditional surrender. Thank you for that. Trump said unconditional surrender. What's he doing? What's the rhetoric all about? It's all about them saying, don't try to mess with, because they all know the regime change is coming. Believe me, these people are not stupid. They know exactly what's going on. We don't know because we listen to too much nonsense. We don't listen to enough of the chandelier talking about what God is saying. We listen to, the, anyway. So got too many distractions going out there, and people are not seeing the real thing. We're going to take you to the juggler because we're wolf. I'm a wolf, and wolves go for the juggler. We're going to go for the juggler, and that's one of the things about me that my name even is Randy means wolf. It's very interesting that my mama named me a wolf. Yeah, what was that all about? I don't know. But so they, you know, so when all this is successful, and I believe that it will be, it's a very strategic, very sensitive thing because you're changing the leadership. The United States is showing that it is in control with Israel of doing this. That's what they're saying. We're in control of this. Do not mess with this. We got this. So if you try to interfere, you're going to be messed with. Okay, so do not do it because all the other countries who are for Iran, believe me, they are trying to figure out how they can take advantage of this. But the U.S. and Israel and others are saying, we got you guys now. We've been nailing y'all for months now. Actually, for what? How many days it's been? Months and months and months. We've been just nailing you, nailing you, nailing you, nailing you, nailing you. You are nailed. We're going to finish nailing you, but we're going to do it in a way that we're going to change the regime because that's what really needs to happen to change that part. But then once that is done, Russia will start making moves, and we'll talk about that later. Right now, I'm just trying to help us get through to see what's happening, why it's happening, and where it's all going, so that you won't be blindsided by all this other stuff and this, yacky, yacky, talky stuff. That most of these guys out there, they don't have a clue what they're talking about prophetically as far as this region. They don't have a clue. They, if they weren't selling Jesus, God might be able to share it with them. I don't know, but maybe they'll quit. I don't think they will, but let's hope they do. Okay, so Russia is kind of getting prepared and ready, and of course, it's dealing with Ukraine still, and they've been kind of messed up with that. But there's going to be some collecting together of you owe me and you owe me and you owe me and you owe me. And if we don't get together, here's what y'all want to know what they're talking about privately on the phone, on private phones with each other. We'll just go ahead and expose all that. Y'all want to expose that? What the Putin and Z and all those guys are talking about? You want to know what they're talking about? They're saying, watch this. This is what's going to make it work, man. They're saying on the phone, hey man, hey, Mr. China and Mr. Russia, you guys need to like pull it together because if we don't pull it together and form something here, they're going to take us down just like they're doing Iran. You understand? And Russia and China go, yeah, yeah, we know, man, yeah, we know. Putin's going, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, no kidding, yeah, Ukraine thing, yeah, that sorry, no good Texas boy jumped in there and interfered with his satellites, talking about SpaceX. That Texas boy messed us up over there. It kind of messed us up. So yeah, yeah, and so yeah, if we don't join together pretty quick, like they're gonna take us all down. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. So what's that going to do? It's going to force these nations who are anti-God or anti-Jesus. You can't say anti-God because they're not anti-God. They're anti-Christ, meaning that you cannot tell them that Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father, or they will do something to you that you won't like, right? So they're going to form their system, the one we've been talking about, and I've been trying to share with you guys a little bit about it, about the fact that the satellite system world is going to be the major role of control. One of the big major roles of control, because it's the satellite systems that Russia and China and all those are going to have. They're going to be, you can't say Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. You can come on and talk about Jesus, but you cannot say that. That's the gospel, y'all. That's the gospel. You don't want to nail the gospel down to a simple thing. Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father and what He did on the cross. And in their world, you can talk about Jesus and preach the God, preach any other gospel. A lot of gospels out there. That's why Paul the apostle said, if anybody preaches any other gospel than what I preach, let him be accursed, because that's exactly what it is. They're cursed. They curse themselves. So, any questions about that? Anybody have any questions you'd like to ask me about that? Uh, I love a good question. Don't think your questions are whatever. Just ask them, because all this is coming down pretty fast. And so I'm just letting you know kind of what's going on behind the scenes with these people, so that you can pray. Pray. You can't change any of it, because it's going where it's gonna go. But we got to pray for the people, that from the two systems that we're going to have, that the people will uh, come toward us, come toward the Texas hub, the global Texas hub realm, where we'll have freedom, where you can come on our system and say Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father, and you can also say that He's not, and still be okay, right? So it's not like we're just going to have a Jesus is the only way to the Father and a Pentecostal. Elon's going to be a Pentecostal guy. Who knows? It could really happen, but Elon's a Pentecostal guy, and the only people we have on the show on that global network is Pentecost people. That's not going to happen. But hey, whatever. So okay, let's talk about the wolves. Just for if you guys come up with some questions, you can come up with some questions if you want. But I want to talk a little bit about the wolves tonight in a new way. All right, and the wolves that are in the are in right in the middle of everything, uh, in the news world and in the political world. The wolves. Y'all want to know about that? Anybody want to know about where the wolves are? Who these wolves are? And how the wolf, the spirit of the wolf, the good wolf I'm talking about, the wolf that after Paul became the good wolf, he was a bad wolf and then he became the good wolf. He was a persecuting, killing Jesus wolf, and then he became the wolf that protects the gospel. That's why God wanted him. So, so, uh, yeah, so that's kind of what's happening with that. And if you want to know about that tonight, I'm going to share it with you about the wolf. It's some new wolf things. We're going to put together the puzzle a little bit more, so you can start getting engaged in the thought process of the wolves. Okay, I'm going to play that song real quick about the wolf to kind of prep you for that next part. While you get your questions ready, if you have any questions about what I just said, don't think your questions are dumb. They're not. Ask what you will, and you shall receive. Hopefully, I know God will help you, but hopefully I can too. Hopefully we can work together. All right, so we're going to do the song "Wolf Restored," and so we're going to do that right now, and then we will come back and here in a minute and talk about the wolf just for a moment. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. All right. All right, here's the wolf restored, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome everybody to PGN.
Before the curse in Eden's light, wolf and lamb shared peaceful night. Beauty fierce in nature's dance, glory in the Creator's glance. Benjamin's wolf Paul transformed, warrior spirit heaven born, fierce protector of the way, guardian of truth each day. Return to glory, creation's plan, wolf and lamb creation's glory now restored in the presence of the
We are talking about things. We're talking about prophetic things tonight. It just happens to be that we're talking about some other things tonight, other than preaching or whatever. We're talking about prophetic things because we want you to know kind of what's going on with all that. So I'm just letting you know. Plus, I'm documenting it for the prophetic sake, for the sake of the prophetic realm. And so, yeah. Hang on just a second here. Let me get this going on. All right, let's kind of go with this a little bit tonight. So we're talking about the wolf just for a moment. I want to talk about the wolf because one of the things that Netanyahu did was that he called the attack on Iran's nuclear sites. Um, Hang on a second. Is that the name of that? Is that what that is? Hang on a second here. Yeah, Netanyahu called it the rising lion, and so I think it's interesting that he's calling it the rising lion when and we've been talking about how that in Isaiah where it talks about Isaiah where it says most people think it says the uh, the the lion and the wolf lay together, or the lion and the lamb lay together, when actually it is the wolf and the lamb that lie together. And so they've taken that scripture out of there and changed it all. And I'm trying to believe God to restore all that, where we start understanding that it's about the wolf, and we have a season of wolves, and we have opened up the door for that. And I'm going to share a little bit more with you. Just some of the movies that have been out there, some of the grand movies that have been really big. One of them was called The Accountant. I think it's Accountant. The accountant, the main guy in that movie, who was the hero, his name was Wolf. Wollf. Wolf. His name was Wolf. Chris Wolf. I think it was Chris Wolf. And many other people called wolves. They have movies about the wolves. They started doing. I saw a documentary. I think they've had it up for a few years, but a documentary about how the wolves have restored order back to some of these parks that they have, where they got rid of the wolves because they were seemingly trouble, and then they found out that there was something missing about these national parks, and so they brought back the wolf and said, literally gave credit to the wolf for bringing restoration and order back to it. And I don't understand how they came up with that, but that's what they said. So we've been talking about the wolves for a while, and I wanted to kind of bring you up to point on what's going on with that. Uh, so we know that there's some very well-known people that their name is either Wolf or their name means Wolf that are big time in the news right now. Anybody know who that is? Anybody know who those people are? And and their name is either Wolf or they uh, or their name represents Wolf. Anybody know who that is? They're pretty much we hear about them just about every day. Hear about the wolf man, just about every day. Okay. All right. Uh, okay. So we got one hit here. I know one is a man reporter for news. Yeah, that's a good one. What's Wolf Blitzer? Can't remember his name. His name is Wolf Blitzer. Wolf Blitzer. Yeah, yeah. His name is Wolf Blitzer. He's CNN. He's a very well known man. He's also a Jew. Wolf Blitzer. Most people don't know. If you don't watch CNN, I watch all the news, and I see CNN every day, just about every day. I watch what they say and what they have going on, and so it's really um, amazing that the guy's name is Wolf, and of course he's kind of a on the Democrat side. He's not on the conservative side, but he seems like a fine man. But his name is Wolf Blitzer, and he basically runs the news. He basically runs the news. He's the main news guy. Wolf Blitzer with CNN. His name is Wolf. Now that may not seem like a lot to some of us, but he's in the news every day. He's a wolf man announcing the news, and he pretty much, I think, controls the news. And he's a Jewish guy. He's there to. He talks good about the Jews because he is a Jew. So when there's articles about bad about Jews, he's in there on it. He's talking about it. He's a Jew whose name is Wolf Blitzer. And so whether that's his real name or not, I really don't know. But that's what they call him. And so very interesting. He's in the news every day. So he's wolfing every day. And then the other guy who has a wolf name, who most people don't even think about it, but his name, you know what his name is? It starts with a B, Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is a wolf man. You know why he's a wolf man? Because the same way Paul the Apostle was a Benjaminite, and Benjamin means wolf man. So Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin means wolf. That's what he is. He's a wolf. He's a good wolf, not a bad wolf. He's a good wolf. And so you're going to see a lot of these things. And like I said, some of the major movies that I've seen on being advertised, you look into the movie itself and you find out what it's about and what the names of the people are. And like I said, with the accountant, which was a guy who was a kind of a, I don't know if he's a military guy. His father trained him or something. I can't remember what the deal was, but he brought justice wherever he went. And sometimes he had to go into some very rough areas and take out some bad business people. So when I talk about God using me to be like a wolf and to take out bad business deals, that's one of the callings that I have, because I have a market calling, a market mantle, and that market mantle manifests itself in blessing and lifting up what God is doing in the market realm, and also cursing and coming against those market people that are in the market realm, that are in the financial realm, that are doing bad business one way or the other, whether that's merchandisers in the gospel of Jesus Christ, preachers that whether they're we've been wolfing after them and prophesying about them like a wolf, because that's what I am. That's my name is Randy. Randy means wolf. And so Benjamin Netanyahu, who is fighting the battle of his life right now, his name is Benjamin. Benjamin means a ravenous wolf. So, and then there's others that I'll bring up to you later. But when you look into the movies, I mean, these movies, that The Accountant, I think, came out a couple of months ago. I had to look again to make sure that's right. But The Accountant movie came out a couple of months ago, and the guy's name is Chris Wolf. I think it's Wollfe or something like that, Wolf. And so you're seeing, what you're seeing prophetically is, you're seeing that God is starting to replace the scriptures and pronounce the scriptures as being, because the wolves, that most of the wolves that I'm talking about are people who are going in and bringing justice like Benjamin Netanyahu is bringing justice to like Iran. Iran is they're trying to save Iran. They're trying to change the regime. Who's doing that? Overall, the wolf, Benjamin. Very, very important to tag these things and remember these things in your mind, because you're going to see this pattern come together, because the wolves of God, the God wolves, are going to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. And that's why Benjamin, the Wolfman, Netanyahu, called it the lion's rise, because what does that do? It's preparing the way for the lion. Who's the lion? Jesus Christ. But also, what God is doing, He's replacing these things that have gone on. Uh, let me look at the scripture here, and I'm documenting tonight. So if I sound like I'm documenting something, it's because I am. I'm not in the flow of preaching. I'm in the zone of documenting and bringing forth information. Okay, so Isaiah 11 uh, talks about the reign of Jesse's offspring, which is David, the rod from the stem of Jesse, and Jesus, of course, is really what's going. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, Spirit of counsel and might, Spirit of the knowledge of the fear of the Lord. His delight is in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by sight of his eyes, nor decide in the hearing of his ears, but with the righteousness he shall judge the poor. And then it goes on down, and it says, righteousness shall be the belt of his loins, and faithfulness the belt of his waist. Talking about Christ. Talking about Christ. And then it says, still talking about Christ, the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, the calf and the young lion, and the fattening together. The little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall graze. So what you're seeing here is kind of the introduction of who prepares the way for the Lord, or the Lion of Judah. And this is just the prophetic trumpet blowing by Netanyahu, who is a Benjamin. I don't know what tribe he's from. Let's see what tribe. Let's see if we know what tribe he comes from. Okay. I don't know if they say what tribe that he's from. His father, Benjamin, Zionist activist, but rather a modern Jewish descendant. So it doesn't really say right here. I've looked this up before, but I don't remember what it said, all the details of it. Anyway, Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin is the name for wolf. So what do we have in the news every day, all day long, basically? And that is that a wolf man, Benjamin, is the longest serving prime minister in Israel's history, having served a total of over 17 years. Interesting, 17 years. All right, so I'm bringing all this up because I want to go to the understanding, and we're documenting this. I want to prophetically proclaim and decree that what we're looking at here is, yes, Wolf Blitzer has gray hair and glasses. I think, yeah, he has glasses, right? And so Wolf is, what's he wolfing about? What's he speaking about? Well, he's not exactly on our side on everything, because he's a Jew. He's a Jew who, is protecting his people in many ways. But his name, he's a powerful man, really, very powerful man. And most people don't realize how powerful the wolf is. The Wolf Blitzer on CNN is. Look him up sometime, you'll find out. And so what's he doing? He's roaring and not roaring. He is howling, the howl of a wolf to protect his people. Benjamin Netanyahu the same way. He's a wolf. He's protecting his people. The Jewish people have a lot of rumors about them about all kinds of things, and so he's about to protect them. So you're seeing this whole thing, the spirit. You're seeing the spirit of God starting to reveal that the wolf is going to come back into the Isaiah 11, and the fact that that has been replaced, that God is now going to set it in order. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb. 11:6. All right, 11:6. All right, so yeah, so we got to get this straight. And all this stuff that's going on, the wolves are going to prepare the way for Christ. And that's why I said earlier, Benjamin Netanyahu called his strategy, instead of calling it the wolf strategy, which it would not be popular if he did that, because they would think, oh, yeah, you're a bunch of wolves, all right, talk about Israel. But most people don't understand the wolf thing yet because it's all been messed up, which shows you the image of true warfare has been totally messed up. The image of true how you protect, like Paul the Apostle doing the crazy thing that most people think is crazy, like, I turned them over to Satan for the destruction of their flesh, for the saving of their soul. Why would you do that? Because he's a wolf. He goes for the jugular. He doesn't play around, and that's part of me. I told you all a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, that talking straight, talking more straight and plain, like Jesus said, like the disciples said of Jesus. Now you're talking plain. Now you're talking straight. That's what I started the process of doing, and it's cost us a little bit in some ways, but at the same time, God is really blessing me and blessing PGN in ways that I can't even tell you right now. The ways He's blessing us, but it's truly been amazing. And so I'm the wolf. I'm a wolf. And so what is this wolf doing? This God-given wolf who used to be a bad wolf and now is a good wolf, because my name's always been Randy. Uh, what am I doing? I'm I'm being used to shine the light, the prophetic light, on the end times. I'm being used to God showing me, because I'm a wolf. I protect the gospel. I don't sell the gospel. I protect the gospel. Paul the apostle was so protective of the gospel because he was a Benjaminite. Benjaminites are wolves. That's what they are. He's born of the tribe of Benjamin. Benjamin, when they name Benjamin, you can look at it yourself in Scripture. It talks about a ravenous wolf. He goes up for the prey at night, uh, in the mornings, and then at night he comes in and he divides it out. In other words, he takes care of people. He takes care of his family. He takes care of things. That's kind of what we're doing here at PGN by the gold and silver thing. We're going to protect. We're going to protect people. We're going to take care of people. We're going to take care of our family. And there's different ways that we do that. Uh, Sometimes you have to kind of kick somebody in the rear to get them off their whatever thing, to get them busy doing the kingdom of God work, and quit being a moocher, and get out there and let your skills of a wolf kick in and start gathering in your own prey instead of waiting around for somebody else to bring you prey. Go out there and get your own, in Christ Jesus. Right? That's kind of what my job is as a wolf. I'm pretty strong about that, pretty upfront about it. And so some of you learned that, and you maybe haven't agreed with it, but that's just the way it is. And we're going to get the job done because it's time. The wolf season is upon us, right? Yeah, we're going to expose the bad wolves, and we're going to let God restore the scripture of Isaiah 11, that it's not the lion and the lamb, it is the wolf and the lamb. That's what it says. That's what the Bible says. So we have Wolf Blitzer as a well-known wolf on CNN on there every day. Every day. What is that saying? Every day, and not every day, but almost every day. He's on there hour after hour, watching over things. Believe me, he's a watcher. He's a watchman. He's watching over things. I don't agree with him on a lot of his stuff. Uh, so yeah. So this is actually the. I'm trying to show you the spirit of the thing, and like one of the most popular movies that's come out in the last few months, as I shared earlier, was called um, the guy's name on there who was the protector. His name was Wolf, and it's really amazing. Called The Accountant. Just look it up. You can look up the information on the internet. Just look it up and look up the guy's name. It's surprising. And then all the wolf movies. So what's God saying? He's, I'm going to restore the wolf. In other words, what's going to happen with the wolf when the spirit of the wolf, the good wolf, the God wolf, gets restored? We're going to go for the juggler on things. We're going to go for the juggler. What's Netanyahu? What's Benjamin Netanyahu doing with Iran? He's going for the juggler. He's getting rid of the bad wolves and he's restoring them with good wolves. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they're doing, and that's the overall reason I'm sharing this tonight, because the wolf is in action. And when the wolf is not in action, there's not order. It's like in the natural realm that they're finding out that even in some of these national parks where they got rid of the wolf because they have this, some reason wolves get this bad image because they go for the juggler and they get a bad image for that. But when they got rid of them, and this is them talking, not me, right? I didn't say this. These people that are animal lovers and study the wolf, they said when the wolves came back to that park, to those national parks, that order was restored, and they never really understood why, but they just said that's the way it is. We don't understand why, but it just does. So there's just something about it, and it makes sense because just like prophets get rumored that they're bad people, that they're mean, that they're vicious, that they're, and in some ways it is true. But when you're vicious toward the right thing, that makes you a good wolf. Because we don't piddle around with things. We go for the juggler. We go for the juggler. What does the juggler mean? Not a bunch of mess. We go for the root of things. Not a bunch of messing around, not a bunch of playing around with things. We don't play with the snake. We destroy the snake. We cut the snake's head off, or we deal with snakes. We deal with bad wolves. And we go for the juggler because God is with us. We go for the root. The axe is laid to the root, or the wolf, the spirit of the good wolf. All right. So I keep repeating that word roof because I'm speaking it out into the atmosphere, because I'm being used by God right now to decree and to place things back in order. I'm placing things back in order. That's what wolves do. They place things in order. They place things in order. So when I'm doing my job and people get mad at me and say, "You're just being mean," I'm not criticizing people for telling me that. I'm just telling you that's what they do. You're just being mean. You're just mean. You're just mean. Because I growl and I bite when I have to. And I do it to protect. I'm not doing it to destroy anybody or take anybody out. I'm doing it to protect. That's it, period. It's a protection thing. Paul the Apostle said, if anybody preaches any other gospel than that, what I'm preaching, let him be accursed. I mean, he just went right for the root, man. He went right for the jugular on that thing. And God bless him. We need more of that. We don't need a bunch of sissies and a bunch of people who listen to their wives about everything. Now, wives can be very good, but sometimes women are very powerful people. But what happens is that they are so emotionally made that you got to be careful how you discipline your children, or they're going to be jumping on you about it, right? So there's a balance that goes on in that also. But if you let a woman run you, if a woman runs a man, which the Bible says they're not supposed to do that, what do they turn into? They lose the wolf part of them. What is that? They deal with the root of things. And sometimes it doesn't look very cool. It doesn't look very nice. It looks a little rough, but it is but it's rough. Of course, people can do it out of order, I know. But if a man is not doing his job, your family and your household is going to be out of order, friend. I don't care how messed up your husband is. If he's halfway a man at all, his job is to be there and to set order. That's the work that a man does, is supposed to do. And so it's gotten so messed up that women now try to take over the order of the household, and then they just mess it all up. They mess it all up. Now, women have their part. Without women, we wouldn't be blessed like we are. But it has to be done in order. It has to be put in order. And if it's not put in order, does that mean we don't listen to our wives? Are you kidding me? We better listen to them. We're heirs together of the grace of God. But you have to have an order. If that order is not set, your house will be out of order. It doesn't matter how much you try, how smart. Women are smart enough to run anything. They're smart enough to run anything. But they should be smart enough to make sure that their husband's running things, or at least let him think that he is, making the decisions, and let him be in a position to run things. Even though you may be smarter than him, you may be able to do it, quote, better than him. But if you're doing it and not him, You know what things are going to happen in your household? Your household is going to be out of order. There's going to be a spirit of disorder there. And when things are in disorder, all kinds of perversions start happening into the families. That's what happens. A woman cannot be replaced. A man cannot be replaced. But a man must have himself in order, and the woman must be in the order of a man, and they work together. But the order has to be proper. If it's not, you're going to have disorder. And when you have disorder, every evil thing begins to happen. Oh, but my husband's not very good at running things. Doesn't matter, sweetheart. Doesn't matter. Be smart. Be smart. Be a good woman, and find a way to get him in position to start putting things in order. Well, he's just not. He don't have no education. He's a man. He is a man, and a man is made. If you'll nurture him and you'll help him, and not let him, allow you to take over everything, because men will allow a woman to take over things. And if you allow your man to take over everything, if men allow their women to take over, if men allow women to take over everything, and if a woman allows her, when her man says, no, honey, I don't want you to take over because you're so good at it, watch out. Watch out. Is it because a woman can't do it? Are you kidding me? Of course, women can do anything. But when that's not in order, everything's out of order, because that's the order of God. It's not women and men, it's men and women, and those women and men work together. And when that order is proper, you won't even understand. I don't know why things are working, because I know I'm smarter than him. I can do twice what he does. But yet, for some reason, when he's in position to be the head, and I'm helping him stay there, instead of when he does something, messes up something, I go in there and take over, because I know I can do it better than him. Well, can you do it better than him? Probably. Probably so. I'm sure. But that doesn't matter. You need to use your wisdom to keep your man nurtured so that he is in position to, quote, run things. With you aside him, nurturing him and helping him in those weak areas, and not letting him give you all the running room and you run everything, because when you're running everything, it's going to get screwed up, girlfriend. Because you're not supposed to run things. You're supposed to help your husband. And when you're using your wisdom that God has given you, and that husband is being encouraged by you and built up by you and kept in his position of rulership, even if he's dumber than you and more stupid than you and whatever, spiritually illiterate than you, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. So when women use their smarts, which they have a lot of them, to keep that man in his place of being the one who's the leader and helping him stay there. I've seen a lot of women. I've counseled a lot of women who they got some husbands that just really messed up dudes. And so they just kind of run everything, and the husband lets them, because they're going, hey, she's smarter than I am. So, and then when she lets him sit down instead of stand up, that's the worst thing she could do. Not because you can't handle it. There's an order. And so this is what God is doing with the body of Christ. This is what God is doing with the Bible, with the references of the scripture, where we don't have just a bunch of emotional people running things. We got people that listen to emotion, that feel emotion, but are not run by their emotions and their feelings. Are feelings important? Extremely. Are emotions important? Are the emotions and feelings of a woman important? Are you kidding me? Without them, the world wouldn't go around. But if a man is run by that, and he's not being run by his authority as a man, then he will be, it'll be out of order. And if you're taking over things from your husband because he's dumber than you, then that's dumb that you're doing that. Okay, not because you can't do it, but because it's not God's order. So anyway, I'm going to get off of that. But so I'm not saying women can't do things. Women can do anything. All right, I can repeat that 100 times. Women can do anything, dude. Are you kidding me? They're multitaskers. They're smart. They say, I mean, come on. Yeah. But when the women are running everything and the man's like going, honey, you're so much smarter than me. Why don't you do it? And if you yield to that, you have really messed up, girlfriend. Really messed up. So that use your smarts and your creativity and your ability to run things to make sure your husband's running things and you're helping him by being under him, girding him up, holding his hands up, because that's the order that God has made. So that's what you need to use your wisdom to do, not use your wisdom to take over and run things, because you're much better at it than he would be. And you probably are. But okay, I hope I'm making myself clear. So the wolf and the lion, all this stuff going on in Scripture, uh, all this stuff in Scripture is really important to understand. Isaiah 11, that it's not the lion and the lamb, it's the wolf and the lamb. So what's God doing? He's restoring the wolf by the spirit of even the using the name wolf, like Wolf Blitzer, like even the name Benjamin. That's what it means. So when you say Benjamin, you're saying wolf. So when you say every time Benjamin Netanyahu is saying something, it's the wolf talking. It's the spirit of the God wolf. When Wolf Blitzer is talking, he's not perfect. I wouldn't mind hanging out with the dude just to check him out. I think it'd be awesome. But do I believe in everything? Are you kidding me? No, no way. But you can see the spirit of the thing, and when the Jews are being attacked, and he's a Jew, he does a balancing act on making sure that the Jews in the news are taken care of. Yeah, just watch that. What does that mean? Uh, that means it's the spirit of the wolf being brought back and restored. God is restoring the wolf because it's going to put things in order, even if it doesn't make any intellectual sense. And it will not make intellectual sense most of the time. But you're going to have to understand that's what this is about. We're in the order of God. So what's my job? My job is to set things in order. Okay, so are you saying these men you mentioned are going to be transformed? What men? You're saying, I think Carmen's saying, so are you saying that these men you mentioned are going to be transformed? I don't know what you mean. Who? Maybe she's not listening right now. Okay, so if she answers that, that'd be great. So I'm saying that these men, that their names, uh, that they're in leadership positions. And right now, Benjamin Netanyahu is in the news every day, just about, and Israel and the whole wolf thing. And Benjamin was the last tribe. Had Joseph, and then Benjamin. Benjamin was the last of the 12 to be born of Jacob, and so the last meaning that he represents, like Paul the Apostle. Paul the Apostle was the one who was the last apostle, if you will, of the last days, who brought forth. So who are you talking about? Transformed to good wolves. Who are you talking about specifically? I guess, sorry about that. I'm trying to ask you who you're talking about specifically. What God? Which ones are bad ones, and which ones? I'm trying to make sure I want to make my statement really clear when I answer your question. Okay. All right. Shannon says, while I was listening to you, the true story, when I was about 3.5, I had a vision. I was on a back porch with my dad, say a black wolf in the neighbor's yard, start staring at me, started crying, scared. My dad didn't know what was going on. We went inside. We went inside. Okay, we went inside then to the front porch across the street in a neighbor's yard. I saw a white wolf staring at me. I started crying again until he took me inside. One of the events of my life, I believe God had big plans for me. Oh, saw a black wolf. Autocorrect. So, okay. Okay, so you saw a black wolf twice. Yeah. It doesn't matter what color a wolf is. It's just like saying, the color of somebody makes them right or wrong. I don't really think that at all. But a white wolf can mean something, but a black wolf doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. So But the wolf thing is it's very big. People are afraid of wolves, and so uh, you know, yeah. Okay, Carmen's not making her question. Uh, she said the ones that you mentioned. Which ones? I mentioned movie wolves, Wolf Blitzer, and Benjamin Netanyahu. Which one are you talking? Are you talking about all of them? This is a little distracting. I'm because I'm not understanding what you're saying. I'm sorry. Uh, so I don't know that they're not transformed. I don't think Wolf Blitzer is a servant of God as far as I know. I don't really know. I can't judge those people on what they are. But yeah, everybody needs to be transformed. Everyone needs to be transformed. Benjamin Netanyahu, I don't know. He may be a Christian believer. I'm not sure. Does he need to be transformed? I really don't know. Do you know? Do you know things about these guys that need to be transformed, or what are you saying? I'm not getting what you're saying exactly. So I apologize for that question. But okay, so uh, okay, awesome, everybody. So I'm sharing with you tonight uh, kind of what I see happening, and people ask me questions. Sometimes, I'm not very good with some questions. You have to ask me really clear because I don't get what people are saying. She says, "Are you saying that these men you mentioned are going to be transformed?" I don't know what you mean by that. You mean get saved? You mean what are you saying? Get born again? What is? Tell me what transformed means, and if you answer that uh, where I can understand it, then I can maybe give you an answer. I hope. Okay, so let's move on, and thank you for being with us tonight. If you have questions tonight, you want to raise your hand. We can talk to you a little bit. There's a lot of information that I want to share. And if nobody really wants to talk, then I will keep sharing information to document this information. Um, so one of the things I really want to make known is that in the realm of the wolf and what's happening with the wolf is that Benjamin Netanyahu, who I don't know if he's born again or not, or if he's if you know more about Benjamin Netanyahu than I do, then let me know. That's if you got some facts and you know what he really is, then make it clear for me. I got to be careful what information I spread. Sometimes people give me bad information on the show, and then I don't realize it till later, and so I have to be. I try to be careful, though. Sometimes I just read people's text right out off of what they say. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that better. But yeah, sometimes things get messed up a little bit, but we're going to fix it. All right, so this is kind of what's happening, and we're seeing a change of regime. And then once that regime change, the reason I'm telling you about this, so if you can pray for the Wolfman, Benjamin Netanyahu, um, that him and all the people that are involved in the changing of the guard, of the changing of leadership, and we'll talk more strategically about what that means for the body of Christ prophetically, for the changing of the guard and what's happening with all that. So yeah, so Benjamin Netanyahu needs prayer. Donald Trump needs prayer. Azerbaijan needs prayer. The whole situation needs to be covered because they're in the process of working the details and making sure that when they replace, that when the leadership of Iran is replaced, that it will not be with some bad guys, but it will be with some good guys. Okay. So that's what we're talking about tonight. So that's what I want you to pray about. That's why I'm bringing all this up. It's because if you understand the root of what's going on, if anybody even believes any of this, some of you may, some of you may not. I don't really know. You guys don't comment, so I don't know what you're believing or not believing. So I'll just take it that in general, overall, it's you're kind of maybe getting it into your head a little bit and pray about it. And pray about it. If God speaks to you that it's a good thing, then pray whatever God leads you to pray. But this is really important, and the next big things that are really going to happen are going to be Russia and China and them doing their thing. They're going to be really working on some stuff, and so it's going to really be amazing how all that works out. But first of all, this situation with Azerbaijan and Iran and Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and Donald Trump and all the strategies that they're using, that they will be successful because I've seen things go wrong. I've seen things go wrong. I've seen people try to change things, and God wants to change things. But so it's not just a cut and dry thing where it's just going to happen automatically on some things. Some things you have to pray and really believe God, and that's why I'm calling our prayer friends to please pray with me about this. That it will happen, and it will happen in the order that's supposed to happen. Everything's supposed to happen in order, and so if it's not happening in order, then it's going to be really just take longer and be a lot more of a pain. So pray about that with me if you would, and also some other things we can talk about here. Uh, um, okay. Here's some good things about Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is really in a power position. They have they have really positioned themselves. They've been positioned by the people that they came into agreement with, like Israel, to be uh, very competent and very powerful people that are Muslim people. And though we hope all Muslims turn to Christ, but right now we're not talking about salvation of these nations. We're really talking about um, the the process of the end times and how all that's working and how it's all developing and how it's going to all unravel. So just remember that Azerbaijan has about 15 to 20 million people in there. In other words, that live in Iran right now, 15 to 20. So how they change leadership correctly is that they go through the process of voting. So the voting uh, of the Azerbaijan people that live within Iran are going to, you know, you need about a 50% vote, right? In other words, you need 51%. So you need 51% of the people to vote for uh, Azerbaijan style of leadership for Iran. So they already have like 24 to 25%, 15 to 20 million Azerbaijanis already live in Iran, live there. So they can vote, right? Because they live there. And so that is very, very important. And so all that's going to be happening. So pray about that, that if they come to a vote with this thing, uh, which they probably will eventually. They'll have to eventually to maybe seal everything. That that the Azerbaijani people, of course, will vote for someone like their president, like the Azerbaijan Ilham, uh, uh, that somebody like him or himself would become president of Iran. It's going to take some real movement to get him there because there are going to have to be some major changes in the structure of Iran's constitution and all that. It's going to have to be some major changes with all that for that to happen. But the arrangements that are happening right now with all this is proving to be very high level. Yeah, it looks like it could happen. Uh, yeah, it looks like it can happen. Uh, the EU has become increasingly reliant on Azerbaijan's gas and oil. In other words, Europe has become very dependent or more dependent now, or reliant on Azerbaijan gas and oil uh, as they were. They used to be Russia, so Azerbaijan kind of cut out Russia. You see that, uh, and so this all happened in the last few years. And so this creates a leverage for Azerbaijan and makes the EU likely to support regional policies that, in other words, when Azerbaijan gets ready to do some business here soon, that all the EU countries are going to cooperate with Azerbaijan. In other words, Azerbaijan has a lot of backing for them to influence taking over Iran, right? This means that any action by Azerbaijan and Israel near Iran will be weighed carefully and how it might impact and complicate an ongoing confrontation with Russia. So Azerbaijan calculations. Azerbaijan must balance its Western partnerships and Israel's ties with cautious relationship toward Moscow. The strong EU and US backing may embolden Baku. Baku is Azerbaijan, uh, but over the moves that could draw Russia ear, unhappiness will be calculated very carefully. So you're seeing. So what I'm trying to say here is that you can see how this stuff with Azerbaijan and Russia are they're saying that with all the information that I've gotten prophetically and we put it into this thing and it kind of comes out puts it in English for me. So we're seeing that the balance between the Western partnerships and Israel's ties uh, are that they're being very cautious on how they deal with everything because Russia will is very very strategic in all this. They've already taken Russia's oil and given oil to the European nations instead of Russia. That you know dealt a heavy blow to them because of sanctions. Sanctions caused Russia so much trouble that the EU, the European nations, started looking to Azerbaijan, and now Azerbaijan is supplying oil for them, like Russia used to supply oil for them and gas. You see what I'm saying? This is some strategic moves that have gone on, and so therefore it's a real balancing act on keeping Russia from freaking out, right? Because Russia's dealing with Ukraine, and there's some major things going on like right now, and so that are going to change all that. All right. So Israel's regional strategy. Israel coordinates closely with the U.S. and increasingly with the EU, the European states, on Iran threats. The Ukraine context pushes Israel to align more with Western. The Ukraine context pushes Israel to align more with Western interests and avoid direct moves that could worsen global instability. So, UK and Russia, uh, the Ukraine conflict really uh, was very costly and created some very unpredictable situations in the region that everybody's kind of learning from all this of how it just all messed up everything, and so um, they are looking for ways to use Azerbaijan will become the channel or the way of which they do things. That's what's happening with all this. Azerbaijan is going to become very, very strategic and positioned for the EU and the United States and Israel and other nations to work through them as they process taking away the Iranian regime, the evil Iranian regime leadership as they remove them. So now they've got backing. So Azerbaijan will have the backing of the EU, the European states, Ukraine, uh, and of course Israel and the United States. So when they make some moves now, when they get ready to make, they're going to have their approval, and that's really really important in making these kind of strategic moves, which also means that it's possible that uh, Aliyev could be the president of Iran, and that's going to be a big move if that happens, a really really big move. But we know for sure they're going to have someone either like him or a more moderate Muslim running Iran. Okay, I know it's a lot of information, y'all. I'm reading my notes a little bit, and I'm trying to talk to the same. I'm trying to give you my knowledge of this thing prophetically. Okay, so a lot to talk about. Wow. All right, so let me give you a little bit clearer a summary of of these things about how Iran will be taken down through Azerbaijan. Kind of overall strategic position. Azerbaijan is Iran's northern neighbor. In other words, they border them. Remember, I told you the Iran president and the Azerbaijani president were together dedicating um, a dam they used together, and then an hour later he was dead. That was a big sign to me because of what I know of the timing. And so Azerbaijan is Iran's northern neighbor. They're neighbors. They border each other. Home to a population strongly connected with a culture and ethnicity to Iran's own. Uh, Large Azeri minority, which means Azerbaijani minority. Azerbaijanis in Iran are a minority, but they are a large minority. 15 to 20 million of them in Iran are Azerbaijanis. All right. Okay. So that adds to the vote. That's 15 to 20 million people voting for an Azerbaijan person, a style person, or Azerbaijan president becoming their president or their leader, right? And then they get 25% more vote, 26% more vote from other Iranians, which would be fairly easy to do. They will have that done. That will be a done deal. Okay. I know a lot of information, so I'm documenting tonight. All right. So there's been years of tension between Azerbaijan and Iran because Iran has backed some of Azerbaijan's enemies in times of struggle. Iran went and worked with the enemies of Azerbaijan, so there's a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of hard feelings between them. They don't trust one another. Um, so because basically Iran supported Armenia, and Armenia is a Christian nation, but Iran supported Armenia fighting against Azerbaijan over some property rights, some big time property rights. Uh, and because Azerbaijan was increasingly aligning with Israel, it set the stage for Azerbaijan to play a unique, pivotal role in Iran destabilizing. So Iran was destabilized uh, because of Azerbaijan's part that it's played. Okay, I'm trying to keep from too many details here, but they have pipelines that supply oil to Iran, to Israel, to the Eastern nations, China, and put a lot of oil out. Also, they give oil and gas to Europe. So they're going to have a lot of people that are on their side, and that's why this is probably going to go through. Uh, Current crisis is with open U.S. and Israel rhetoric for regime change. It's being talked about for open rhetoric for regime change and interest and intense conflict. Iran's government is under extreme pressure right now, as you all know. Instability in Iran, especially if triggered by targeted strikes or the removal of top leadership, which is what they've been doing, could rapidly open the door for external influence, which means Azerbaijan being supported by Europe, Israel, and the U.S. to basically take over Iran. Mike Jacobs, I hope you're listening to this because I shared this worked with you back 2007, 2008, and you looked at me kind of funny. So it's kind of hard to believe, right? It is a difficult one to believe, but it is actually happening, man. It's unbelievable. Um, okay. Azerbaijan's influence scenarios, the scenarios of Azerbaijan's influence with all this happening. Azerbaijan could become the leading humanitarian corridor for Iran's fleeing violence. So what's happening right now is Iranians are Trump is telling them to flee the country or to flee the main cities because they're fixing to do some things. So in the light of that, Azerbaijan could open up its borders and become the hero, if you will, the humanitarian hero of the Iranian people, or at least some of them. And so um, Azerbaijan could become the leading humanitarian corridor for Iranians fleeing violence, with international support from Europe, Israel, and others, quickly establishing itself as a safe haven and an organizing center. In other words, structure and safety. Existing security and intelligence cooperation with Israel could provide the operational and diplomatic backbone for these efforts, ensuring the transition doesn't result in renewal of tyranny and chaos. In other words, they're really putting it all together operationally and diplomatically with the backbone that they have with Trump now threatening them. We know where you're at. We're going to come get you if we want to, but we're going to. They're just letting everybody know we got this under control. It's already basically done, and they're just announcing to the world we're going to take over the leadership of Iran, and we're going to replace it with something good. So, but they have to have a lot of backing. Azerbaijan has to have a lot of backing, and they do. They got all of Europe, really, and like I said, Israel and other countries that are supporting them because of good relationships. And plus, Aliyev is a very, he's a good man as far as a man can be good. A good Muslim. He's not a violent Muslim. Okay, the president of Azerbaijan, seen as a moderate Muslim leader, could mediate, support opposition groups, amen, and help shape Iran's post-regime transition, guiding it towards more secular, pluralist, and Western-friendly leadership. In other words, the president of Azerbaijan will either be the president or he will help position Iran to get a leadership similar to his. Right. All right. The existing security and intelligence cooperation with Israel could provide, because Azerbaijan is very cooperative with Israel. They work together, intelligence, the whole thing. And you can see how this has been shaping up really for years. That could provide the operational and diplomatic backbone for these efforts, ensuring the transition doesn't result in tyranny and chaos, right? Instead of having something good. The U.S. and Israel restraint towards Iran's supreme leader, another saying we could kill you, but we're not going to, indirect regime removal, and delay in direct regime removal may be designed to give time for this managed, externally influenced transition. Okay, this is the language. Let me read that again. U.S. and Israel restraints toward Iran's supreme leader. In other words, we're going to get you. We know where you're at. We're not going to kill you yet. And delay in the direct regime removal. In other words, going in and just yanking him out, committing out, may be designed to give time for this managed, externally influenced transition of leadership, which is what we gave the word about on May the 19th or May the 20th or 21st, whenever it was. Right after they actually took them down in Azerbaijan, then I felt the Lord, give me the grace to talk about the strategy he knew about. I know about it. He told me about it, to take down Iran regime through Azerbaijan. Isn't this amazing, y'all? I mean, I know it's a lot of info, and I'm not going to apologize for all the info, but this is really, really big, and I'm documenting this tonight. So forgive me, for taking the time. You'll be glad we did this later, because when it all starts happening, it's going to be shocking that we talk about right here in our little bitty whatever, network. All right. So they are working on this very well managed external influence transition. So the reason that they can get another leader put in there by Israel or the U.S. and Europe, is because they have all that backing, right? If you have that backing and the approval of all those nations, and then the people within 15 to 20 million of them are Azerbaijanis already, they're going to be voting for that. And then you add 25% more, it's going to be a pretty easy thing to do. They'll fight it, but I think the people want it so bad. They want freedoms. The Iranian people want freedom so bad that it's all set up for this transition. And then, like I said, the next phase is going to be Russia and China. They're going to be doing their thing, and well, you'll see. And we'll talk more about it later. I'm going to help you understand the strategies of all this, because God is showing to me, right? And every little detail may not be perfect, but the overall scenario is where it's going. All right. The realistic outcome, if the regime change occurs, the combination of internal opposition, including Iran's Azeris, uh, Azerbaijani mediation support, and international coordination is likely to ensure that a more moderate, regionally connected leadership emerges rather than another authoritarian or destabilizing force. So, in other words, that's saying that a realistic outcome is that uh, Azerbaijan will be very involved, along with 15 to 20 million of the Azerbaijanis who live in Iran now, right now, about 24%, something like that, somewhere in there. This is going to be pretty. I don't want to say anything to say it's going to be easy, but it's more realistic. We're going to say it's more realistic. In essence, Iran will be taken down through Azerbaijan. That's the word that we got. Captures the mechanism by which transition influence. Let me read that again. In essence, Iran will be taken down through Azerbaijan. Was a prophetic word. Captures the mechanism by which transitional influence, safe havens, diaspora activism, and external support all converge, with Azerbaijan as a critical pivot for change. In other words, with all the information that I have, this is how it's put out. When I put all the information and they organize the information for me and put it in there, and then what I'm reading to you is the prophetic word that I got, all the information that I have that goes along with it from God, and what's been going on in real life, and we put it in a statement here that is pretty much official statement. All right. Okay. So Iran will be taken down through Azerbaijan, captures the mechanism by which transitional influence, safe havens, diaspora activism, uh, and external support all converge. In other words, everything I've talked about, the oil that they supplied for Europe, taking over Russia's supplying them, they don't have to depend on Russia. Europe didn't have to do that. Also, Israel and other countries, and even China and some of the eastern countries, a lot of the eastern countries get oil from Azerbaijan. So, so that opens up, an influence for them to go, well, this guy's a good guy. We think he'll be good at making it. He'll make a good transition. It'll be safe. It'll be, the external support outside of Iran, which would be Azerbaijan, closely related, a Muslim. It's a perfect fit, really. It's a perfect fit. So, amen. Just remember, we exposed this or revealed this first on PGN. Yeah, literally. With Azerbaijan as the critical pivot for change, literally. All right, that's enough of that. Thank you tonight for listening to this, and I know that it's been a lot of information, and I don't really apologize for it, but at the same time, I know it's a lot, and you'll have to go back and listen to it. The main thing is that we got it documented so that we can, when it all starts happening, we can come back and say, the Lord knew this, and he shared it with Randy, and Randy got it the best he could with trying to make it clear and plain so that everyone could, understand what God is doing, right? What God is doing. Okay. Um, all right. So anybody got any questions? Anybody got anything you want to say? I know it's hard to ask questions about this stuff, but um, we've gone through a lot of different things. We've talked about the wolf. I want to talk about the spirit of the wolf tonight, the God-given wolf, the Benjaminites. Benjaminites were the greatest warriors. They fought with their right hand and their left hand. They were amazing warriors, built in by God. God made it that way, and that's why wolves are chosen by God to prepare the way for Jesus, because they have, that warrior spirit about them, and they're wolves, and wolves go for the jugglers. Yeah, you got to remember that about the wolves. They go for the juggler. They go for the root. They don't piddle paddle around. Yeah, so it's really interesting how all that goes. All right, so I think that's that for that. Okay, that's that for that right now. All right, I think I'm pretty well finished with that. Thank you for being patient. All right, Prophecy Social says, this is Glenn, says Tehran is a ghost town. Intel has it that the supreme leader has given some of his duties to upper cabinet. That suggests he is almost ready to surrender. Oh, okay. Does it? Uh, man, can y'all believe this is happening, man? This is like Iran thought they had Israel by the jugular, man. They thought they had Israel by the jugular. I mean, literally, they literally thought they had Israel by the jugular, and they were fixing to take them down when they attacked on October the 7th on my birthday. They attacked on my birthday, which I was what I was born to do was deal with all this. So it's really amazing all the 13s that have gone on, and right now, Glenn is saying Tehran is a ghost town. Intel has it that the supreme leader has given some of his duties to his upper cabinet. That suggests he is almost ready to surrender. Yeah, if he believes that Trump and Israel, it's really Israel, knows where they are, then it's kind of like the Iraq thing where Saddam Hussein. Remember Saddam Hussein where they found him, you know, like in a hole. Y'all remember that? And then they arrested him. Anybody remember all that stuff when they went into Iraq and took Iraq? Uh, See, the thing is that the reason that I'm talking about all this stuff tonight is because it's prophetic. Number one, it's opening the door for the next prophetic realm to happen, and that is Russia and China and all that. Um, because this has to be done first. This has to be settled and done first. And of course, the Ukraine thing will be next, as far as they'll it's all playing a role, and we will see how it all goes. It will be very interesting. So there you go, y'all. Very interesting, and what a great night we've had. I really don't. I'm really tired right now. I gotta warm myself out. So yeah. So it's only 10 o'clock. Oh my gosh, I'm turning to a real sissy. I'm telling you, I'm turning to a real wimp. What is going on? Yes, you can ask questions. Yes, please. Yeah. Thanks for asking questions. Yeah. Okay. You have a question, you can bring it on. That would be great. Okay. At the beginning of the show, you asked uh, questions. You said you were going to talk about the good wolf. You mentioned three wolves: Chris Wolf, Netanyahu, and Blitzer. My question is, since you mentioned them, were you saying they were be transformed like the wolf transformed in your song? I don't know if I'm saying they're going to be transformed. What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, and that's why I like questions because then I begin to understand. Maybe I didn't say it clear enough, which I usually don't. That's why I repeat myself a lot because I want to make sure it's clear. I'm saying that the Chris Wolf. This is this is Carmen. That's the question. Good, really good question. You mentioned three wolves. Uh, as far as names, I did. And Chris Wolf, which is the name of a guy of the guy in the movie. That's actually his name in the movie. That's not his real name, but that's his name in the movie. And I thought it was very unique. Uh, so Chris Wolf and Netanyahu and Wolf Blitzer. My question, since you mentioned their names, are you saying they're going to be transformed, like the wolf transformed in your song? Uh, no, I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying that the wolf the wolf thing, since we've been bringing up the wolf thing, the wolf scenario, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're seeing the wolf name and the people that are wolves are similar to uh, the Benjaminites who were warriors and fought like Wolf Blitzer. He kind of fights for the Jewish people because he's a Jew. So when they're doing news, I think he tries to make sure that they get the true balance of anti-Semitism and he talks from a Jewish perspective uh, on his show, and so I think and plus he's a very well-known person, very powerful person, really. Do I think he's going to be transformed? I really don't know. I'm just saying that the name Wolf and the people that represent that are very well-known people and very strategic people and very important people as far as the global, like Netanyahu. Netanyahu's first name is Benjamin, and that means wolf. So uh, yeah. So I don't know if Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be transferred or not, but I'm not really saying any of that. I'm just saying that their names being important and important people in strategic roles, and they're not the only ones. There's a lot of movies that are coming out that have to do with wolf, like even kids movies. There's just a lot of things about the wolf. So that's really what I was saying. I wasn't really saying about being transformed. I'm just saying that God is transforming the name wolf into something from being a bad name, from a wolf being a bad name to a good name. I think that's really what I'm trying to say. So good question. I hope I clarified that. So yes, what I'm saying is that I'm using the name wolf uh, to say that the wolf reputation is being turned around. It's being restored. The wolf reputation is being restored, and that's why they took it out. That's why most people don't quote uh, the lion and the lamb. They quote, which the scripture actually says, the wolf and the lamb, and that's been taken completely out of scripture because just like when in some of those national parks they got rid of the wolves because they thought the wolves were bad things, were bad people, but they weren't. They were very something was missing when they weren't there. It's amazing. So it's a very strange phenomenon. I honestly don't understand all of it. Uh, but great question. Yeah, and info on the wolves. His real name is Wolf Blitzer. Okay, he's Polish, Jewish. The name Wolf comes from the maternal grandfather, Hebrew, Zeph, which meaning wolf. Isaac is his paternal grandfather's name. His surname Blitzer is genuine, handed down through his father's line. He confirmed he didn't invent it for TV. Okay, wow, really good news, Carmen. Thanks, that's really great. In his early journalist career in Israel and Washington, he sometimes used Hebrew pen names Zev Blitzer and Zev Barak, uh, means lightning. Barak means lightning. Wolf Blitzer is ethnically Jewish, but like most Jewish people today, especially those Ashkenazis, Ashkenazi, I don't know how to pronounce that. I heard people say it. Eastern Europe descent. His specific tribal lineage is Judah. Okay, Judah, Levi, Benjamin is not publicly known or verified. Okay, e.g., Judah, Levi, Benjamin. Okay, I couldn't find it either. Benjamin Netanyahu is not traditionally considered to be uh, from any specific tribe in Israel. I saw that one. Yeah, like most modern Jews, there is no official documentation of the specific tribal descent. Okay, but they're doing it by bloodline now. Now they're doing it by bloodline. So now they go in there and they see if you're. I don't know if they can tell specifically what tribe you're from, but they can pretty well tell if you're Jewish or mostly Jew by your blood. That's what I understand. We're gonna discover more about that in the future. So that's going to be very interesting. And the subject, and I thank you for asking questions about that. The subject tonight is really in the wolf realm is that God is restoring the name of the wolf to be something wonderful where people will be proud of it, where they'll go back and start quoting the scripture and they're going to have pictures of wolves with lambs instead of lions with lambs. All right. And that's really what I'm trying to say. Okay. So I hope I made it a little bit better, a little clearer. All right. Okay. Glenn talking about the bunker buster bombs. Special prophecy social says, but the big Satan, which is the U.S., moved 4 B-52s that can deliver these bunker buster that weigh 3,000 or 30,000 because I can't tell what that is. Is that 3,000 or 30,000? I think it's 3,000. Uh, that's what he's worried about. Yes, I would be worried too. So is that 3,000? Let me look at that. Look at the bombs. Okay, 30,000 pounds. Wow. It is 30,000. You didn't put your little comma in there, dude. I didn't know what it was. Okay, great. So it is 30,000. So you did do it correctly. All right, 30,000. Thank you. Thank you for that. I wasn't sure. That's 30,000 pounds. My gosh. So what we're talking about tonight. Well, let me give me. I'm going to take just a break for a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to do the wolf song again uh, because I want to make an imprint on everybody tonight about the wolf and the spirit of the wolf has everything to do with what's going on in Israel. Has to do with what's going on with Trump. I don't know how Trump is a wolf. I mean, I don't know how he fits into all that, but it's got to be fit somewhere or another. So let's play the little song again, and then we will come back in a minute and we will do some more of these people sending me information, and I will talk about that. All right, thank you. I'll be right back.
Before the curse in Eden's light, wolf and lamb shared peaceful night. Beauty fierce in nature's dance, glory in the Creator's glance. Benjamin's wolf Paul transformed, warrior spirit heaven born, fierce protector of the way, guardian of truth each day. Return to glory, creation's plan, wolf and lamb as God began. Fierce defender, beauty restored, in millennium's peace by heaven poured. Like the wolf who guards its own, warrior Christ upon his throne, not destroyer but defender true, making all creation new. Origins pure and undefiled, when the fierce lay with the mild, heaven's warrior, beauty's grace, guardian of the sacred space. Wolf and lamb in harmony, as the Father meant to be. Creation's glory now restored in the presence of the Lord. Wolf and lamb in harmony, as the Father meant to be. Creation's glory now restored in the presence of the
All right, that prophetic song is a song about restoring the name of the wolf, really, and giving the wolf the name that God gave it, and creating that the wolves into good wolves, and using them for good. Wolves are very protective. They're very family oriented. They protect, like Paul the Apostle was extremely protective over the gospel, which shows you why God chose him and gave him the gospel. Really amazing. All right, so we got 30,000 pound bunker buster bombs, which I think will confirm the word that I gave that I got actually in 2007, 2008, somewhere in there, and then shared it on the show on April the 15th on a Monday. Talked about how that what I saw Israel attacking, bombing actually Iran's nuclear sites, which had never been done before. Shared that on April the 15th that I saw that happening is what I saw years before. Just brought it up out of the blue because we were actually trying to figure out what Israel's retaliation would be for Iran's attack on them on April the 13th. April the 13th, yes. Man, try keeping up with all these dates one of these days, man. It's really, it's I'm exercising my brain, I'll tell you that for sure. So April the 13th, Iran attacked Israel for the first time ever on the 13th of April. On the 15th of April is when we shared, because everybody was trying to figure out where's the retaliation, what's the retaliation going to be of Israel. So we were, and that was in the back of my mind. So I processed that, and so the two things that I got was the Azerbaijan thing. Um, Iran would be taken down through Azerbaijan somehow, and I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to work. That's just the word that I had. And then also we shared that a bomb from Israel uh, hit the nuclear sites, and it was like an earthquake went off, or the the bomb created an earthquake, because it shook it so much, or I don't know, I didn't understand it. And so this thing that Glenn is saying could possibly be it, that they're sending a 30,000 pound bunker busting bomb, which it sounds like that's what they're doing, right? But the big Satan has moved. America has moved 4B-52 bombers that can deliver those bunker buster that weigh 30,000 pounds. That's what he's worried about. Yeah. Yes. I can't even imagine what that would be like to be knowing that your life is about to end. Woo! Man. So it's all about the wolf. It's the spirit of the wolf, the good wolf, the God wolf, the name of the wolf being restored through people like Benjamin Netanyahu, through movies that they're making movies about the good guys being very strong. When they go after you, watch out because you don't want them going after you because they will do. They don't listen to anybody or anything. They just go for you if you're an enemy, if you're a bad guy. They will. The wolf in that movie was the guy who went after the bad guy, and even though his own brother, they were both warriors, right? His own brother was security for that guy. He told his brother. He said his brother begged him not to do it because he would get fired, and he told his brother, the wolf, Chris Wolf, told his brother Wolf that I got to do this, man. You have to get another job or something. I'm not gonna. And so he went after him, took him out, and so it's really really amazing. So it's about how vicious a wolf can be in setting order, right? In setting order. Like I talk about men and women, it's completely out of order. Maybe not because women are bad or men are stupid or women are arrogant or what. It's not about that. It's about we're not being taught and we don't have examples before us of what it's like to have an ordered household with a parent, with a father the mother may be much smarter than the father, but the mother is smart enough to make sure that the father is in position to lead, and then helps him with prayer and just love and whatever to make sure he's leading, so that the order of God will remain. That's how women need to use their power and authority and their geniusness. Women are geniuses. They're amazing. You see, I just want people to walk away thinking, "Oh, Randy's talking bad about women again. We knew something like that." Wrong. I'm just gonna be real up front and go right to the jugular with it, so we can really start dealing with this stuff. And yeah, I mean, I've literally counseled women who have. They said, "Man, I can't figure out why my husband. He just never. He's like he just went to sleep on me. He doesn't want to pray. He don't want to go to church. He want to do nothing. He used to all the time, and now it's like." And so I asked this, and I talked to several of them. Asked this one. I said, "Well, what's going to, you know, well, you know, my husband likes that I run things. That's what they told me. My husband likes it that I run things." And that's what we've been taught, that that's okay, right? So they're not evil and bad because they're taking away their husband's leadership role by running everything themselves because the husband said, "You can do it, honey." and then they just, oh yeah, I could do it, and they jumped right in there because they could, but it's out of order, right? That's the problem. It's out of order. And I mean, I've counseled people like this, and I could, you know, tell you a lot about it, but the reason their husband fell asleep is because they took the position, even though they might not have been as good at taking care of things as you were, honey. It doesn't make any difference. Get in there and come under him and support. Be the wise one that comes in and supports and helps make sure that he is the guy who's running things and he is doing the smart thing, because you're not telling him what to do, but you're encouraging him and loving him in what to do. If you'll do that, your house will get in order. Doesn't matter if you're smarter than your husband or you've always done everything better than your husband. It doesn't make any difference. And I hope you understand that, because I'm going for the juggler on this stuff, not for the juggler of people, but for the juggler of the lie that people have gone for. And we've not been teaching people how this works, and so therefore they're becoming subject to being out of order, and it's because they just think they're doing the right thing, and they're good people. All of them are good people, regular folk, not a bunch of devils, not a bunch of demons. It's not nothing to do with any of that. All right, so the prophetic guy, whoever that is, says, I guess the good wolf would use his pack to take down a much larger predator. That does happen, yeah. And you probably know about wolves. Yeah, wolves can take down a much bigger. They work together. They do that with wolves. Mostly eat smaller animals like rabbits, and smaller creatures. They don't usually go for the big ones, but when they have to, they will. If they're hungry and they're going to feed their family, they will gather together. They will join together. Exactly, they will. That's exactly right. So thanks for bringing that up. I've just the only reason I know that because I've seen it on TV. Right, I've watched these guys talk about this stuff, and so you're right. They will do that. So so that's kind of what's going on, and y'all, it's an amazing thing. And I hope people can. I hope that we, including myself, can get a hold of this and start walking along with it and start changing things. Like the biggest thing that goes on with women and their husbands is their husbands, have a hard time, or they get weak, and they just kind of let their wife take over, and the wife takes over because she's smart enough to do it. But the order gets out of order. So you need to use your smartness and your energy and your love to help your husband get back in his position, and you get off of that position as soon as possible. Right? Find a way. Ask God to show you, because He will help you. Believe me, God has worked with a lot of women who had some pretty dumb husbands, and the other way around. So I'm on your side. It has nothing to do with being against winning. He just, oh, I know, there it is again. He's against winning. Nah, I'm for you, but I'm not for you the way uh, a lot of people think things should be. I think we should go by the Bible. Hi, Randy. Will this system be in place the full 7 years? Okay, Angel, you asked me a question, and I apologize that I did not see that. Um, okay, so Angel's asking me, Angel, are you still on? If you're still on or not, dear, I apologize. Well, what system are you talking about? What system were we talking about? Um, I don't even know what we were talking about at that time. I apologize, Angel. Thank you for letting me know you're there, and then I didn't see your question. Um, so sorry about that. I guess I can answer a question until I'm answering it. Uh, I'm just not sure what system you're talking about. The system being in place the full 7 years. Okay, I think you're probably talking about the Great Tribulation, right? That's what I think you're asking me. Uh, so the system be in place this full 7 years. I'm not sure if that question is clear either. I apologize. If I didn't see that, I would have asked you to make that a little bit, present that to me in maybe a couple of different ways, because I'm not sure I'm getting exactly what you're saying. Um, I guess you're talking maybe about the system of um, the Antichrist global system with their satellites and their, yeah, and then Texas having its system to set full 7 years. Yeah, Pretty much the full 7 years, yeah. The 7 years will not be able to progress into the end of the end times, Angel, unless it is. Yeah, so it's being set up right now as you. So I'm gonna try to answer that question. Thank you, Jesus, help me. So it's gonna be, well, pretty much. I don't know if it's exactly going to be 7 years, but it's been being prepared for a while. So the thing that's going to kick it all in is the crash, the October the 13th warning I got, 2023, of that the crash of the system was going to be man-made. I finally figured it was going to be man-made, uh, and uh, and a man-made crash was going to begin October the 13th, 6 days after the war in Israel started. It was about Gaza. And Gaza is the big trigger. Gaza is one of the big triggers of the end times. One of the big triggers is what the angel told me in 2005. Said there's a massive merger coming, and 8 months later, Gaza was given away for land for peace, which is a big no-no, and Ariel Sharon paid a big price for that. And the reason the angel was telling me a massive merger is coming because he knew that in 8 months, uh, the process has already really started. They started it a couple of years before that about giving away Gaza, but it became finalized 8 months from the time the angel said there's a massive merger coming. Merger meant, what all's going on now. Uh, and it also meant the crash of the system. In other words, we're going to go from the dollar being global uh, to a new currency for the system of Texas and the system of the Antichrist. I hope I answered that, Angel. I so apologize, girl, that I did not see that and was able to ask you what you're talking about. Okay, anybody else got any other questions? Anything you'd like to say or talk about? You know, you're gonna have to open up and talk because I'm not gonna stay on much longer. It's only 10:30, but wow, my days are crazy, y'all. My days are getting crazier. I finally got air conditioning. Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus, for AC in this place. Now we can turn on all the monitors. I can turn up the air conditioning and just have a party in this place now. I told Dr. Mariri that I had air conditioning now. I don't know if what's going on there, but that's what I told him today. Dr. Mariri, I got air conditioning now. Because when we have him in the studio with us, we're going to have all the screens on, and everything he's talking about is going to be behind him as a kind of a imagery. So that kind of got messed up. I'm not sure why. Maybe there's a timing involved for us to do that, but it hadn't happened yet. Uh, it got pretty hot in here until yesterday. They got the air conditioning on yesterday. Okay, Jada has a question. Okay, uh, all right. You want to text it to me, or I see you're on the line. You want to text or you want to ask me? Okay, let's get her on here and see. Maybe we can try again. Okay, there we go. I've been hearing about the UN conference and them saying peace and safety. Okay, that's not a real. I mean, uh, is this one of the signs of the end times? Well, they say peace and safety a lot. Uh, there's been peace and safety is not a new thing. That's why I have to hear more what you're saying. I've been hearing about the UN conference and them saying peace and safety. They always want peace and safety, but I didn't hear the conversation. If you could send me more information on that, I might could answer it maybe for you. But let's just say a scenario where they're saying, okay, go ahead. You're going to ask me. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. I will send the article. Thank you very much. Yeah, and you want to send it to me now? Okay. Yes, go ahead and send it to me. That'd be awesome. Yeah, and then we'll answer that when she gets it to me. I will answer that. Thank you, Glenn, for the 30,000. Thanks for that help on that. So when Jayla sends that to me, I will try to answer that the best I can. Okay. I'm ready for you to send it whenever you want. Okay, y'all. I'm not gonna. Uh, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna wait. I would love to answer questions when people have questions. I love to answer questions because it helps me think about things I didn't talk about earlier. Um, so yeah, that's why I love questions because it helps me rethink something. Okay. Okay, I got it. Thank you for that. Right. She says, I heard you mention, Jayla's asking this. I heard you mention Benjamin Netanyahu, and it made me think of this. I've been seeing a lot of PPL mention this on social media, but I don't know the connection between the end. I don't know connection between this and the end time. I know, yeah, it's really a big thing. Um, yeah. Um, so the UN conference, global recognition of Palestine, is kind of what it was about. Uh, with 150 nations recognizing the state of Palestine in a high profile UN conference, pushing more world governments to join. The international community is clearly moving forward, formalizing Palestine uh, statehood. This fulfills the script of peace plans or covenants involving Israel and many nations that some see as prophetically significant. So, yeah, it's kind of looking like that. France and Saudi Arabia rose in this, the involvement of both Western France, the French part of the Western, and a major Arab Saudi Arabia powers as co-hosts points to an unprecedented level of international and cross-cultural cooperation aimed at resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So yeah, the pressure's really on. So yeah, it does look like this division over Jerusalem and the land. Israel's strong opposition calls for annexation, and the refusal to recognize Palestinian state by Netanyahu's government keep the core grievances unresolved. The UN Europe, the UN European push clashes with Israel's current territory and security policies. Uh, Normalization dynamics. The Abraham Accords brought Israel normalization with several Arab states, but Gaza's war derailed momentum with Saudi Arabia and others from the Abraham Accords. Riyadh insists that Palestinian statehood is a precondition for any further normalization, revealing a regional realignment that places the issue of a two-state solution front and center. End time parallels. Uh, Many Christian end time interpreters see moves toward a two-state solution, new peace deals, or international confirmations of Israel's borders as possible fulfillment of prophetic passages referring to peace and safety. Yes, division of the land and the rise of global governance over Jerusalem. The division of the land disagreement over Jerusalem attempts to impose a final solution for the conflict are viewed by some as markers for the approach of the last days. Uh, okay, the current conference being global and at the UN fits the pattern of all nations being involved in decisions over Israel, a key end time motif. Potential catalyst: if more nations recognize Palestine, if more Western powers like France follow through, and if this increases pressure on Israel, it could lead to new instability, resistance, and dramatic events in the Middle East. A wider recognition of Palestine could set up a diplomatic crisis, push the region towards further wars, or pave the way for a broader international intervention, all common features in some end time teachings. The conclusion of it is the timing, international scope, and diplomatic stakes of this conference are historic. The timing, international scope, and diplomatic stakes of this conference, Jayla, are historic. The push for the two-state solution and intense division with both Western and key Arab states leading highlights a transition point that could feed into bigger geopolitical and prophetic shifts, depending on one's interpretive lens that you look through. If you want a scripture reference for the detailed prophetic comparison, look at Daniel 9:27, Zechariah 12, and others. Daniel 9:27. Let's go there. Let's go to Daniel 9:27. Uh, I'm just reading this as I'm getting it here. Daniel 9:27. Uh, so I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. I'm reading it as 9:27. This is kind of what it's lining up with is at 9:27. That the 70 weeks prophecy, verse 27 says, uh, yes, you are. This is good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know you are. I could go over that again if you want, but it's basically saying yes. It's definitely looking like it. That's that's what it looks like. That conference looks like. So uh, let's see, 27. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to the sacrifice and offerings. So the sacrifice and offerings is going to have to be the temple. So being the fact that we're getting close to the temple, Jayla, and I know this personally. I know some things very personally about this as far as prophetically. Uh, that 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 lines up with that scripture right there, and we literally know that they're getting ready to build that temple. I'm building the temple by imagery on my own. You know, me and the Lord, I guess. Help me, Jesus. So as a prophetic act, that is. And so yes, verse 27. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to the sacrifice of offerings. I'm not sure exactly what the week is, but that's 7 years, the 7 year period. Uh, but in the middle of the week, which is the middle of the tribulation, so maybe that's what the 1 week week is 7 days. So we're looking at 7 years of great tribulation. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Um, so the 1 week is more representative toward the 7 year, 7 day, 7 year tribulation. But in the middle of this tribulation, or the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to the sacrifice and offerings. So I guess the offerings and sacrifices will be going on before the middle of the tribulation. The temple will be built, and they will be offering offerings on there. And so, in the middle of that, in the middle of the tribulation, will begin where a covenant with will be confirmed with many. It says with many, and on the wing of abominations shall one who makes desolate. He shall bring it into the sacrifice offerings, and on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation which is determined is poured out on the desolate. Okay, so that's one scripture. Let's look at Zechariah 12. you can hear me out there. Zechariah 12. I'm going to go there for a second. Um, Zephaniah, Zechariah. I almost went to Zephaniah. Zechariah 12, uh, verse. Uh, okay. Uh, Zechariah 12, the coming deliverance of Judah, the burden of the word of the Lord against Israel, that saith the Lord. A cup of drunkenness surrounding the peoples when they lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem. It shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. All who heave it away will surely be cut in pieces. Though all nations of the earth are gathered against it, in that day, saith the Lord, I will strike every horse with confusion, and its riders with madness. I will open my eyes on the house of Judah, and will strike every horse of the peoples with blindness. And it goes on and on and on and on. Really beautiful stuff. Uh, so it does kind of sound like it, Jayla. It definitely does sound like it with everything that's going on. The fact that I know that the red heifer thing is there, and so it's it's it sure looks like it. Okay, it sure looks like. Okay, let's go. Glenn is saying here, prophetic prophecy social. If people looked at the original outline of Israel, it included the land from the great river in Egypt all the way to the Euphrates, but that would then be part of Iraq, Syria, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I mean, the Israel we see today isn't anywhere near the Israel that they conquered in Canaan. When they went to Canaan land and conquered, that was they conquered all the land. That's the little bit of piece that we're seeing. It's just a little of nothing. All right, Glenn also says prophecy social says the scripture tells us that we might that Mount Sinai is found in Arabia. The outline of Palestine's state is moot. Whatever that is. Okay. Mount Sinai is found in Arabia. That the Palestinian state is okay. So I'm not sure. You need to say what you're saying there. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't know if it's not making sense to me. It's not making sense to too many people, probably. Uh, so yeah. The end time parallels. Many Christian end time interpreters see moves toward a two-state solution, new peace deals, international confirmations, All right, I think I'm back on now. We did lose our sound. My microphone went bad on me. Sorry about that. My microphone went bad, so yes, my battery died. Uh, wow, really weird. Okay, so yes, and we're back now. What did I? What's the last thing I said, or that you guys said, or what we said, what we were talking about? Dividing the land for Palestine or for Israel, God's land is not God's will. That's what happened with Ariel Sharon. Ariel Sharon divided that land, and as you know, that we uh, it was all about Gaza. And when the angel came to me in 2005 and told me there's a massive merger coming, it had everything to do with Gaza. I didn't even know about it. Gaza happened 8 months later. That the land was officially given away, and Israel started moving out 8 months later after the angel told me that. And then I realized, years later, that Gaza was the triggering point. So when Gaza got kicked back in on October the 7th, 2023, not only was it my birthday, but it was a trigger point from what the angel told me, a massive merger. That's why October the 13th is the massive merger date that it begins, if that makes sense. So sometimes you guys don't say amen, or I don't understand, or I don't know what you're hearing, or what you're, so sometimes I repeat myself because I think, did they hear me? I'm not sure if you heard me. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with that. So Gaza has everything to do with the trigger point when it came back into the news with Israel taking it back or going back in and fighting Gaza in Hamas in Gaza. It was the trigger point for, of course, like I said, 6 days later was the date God gave me, October the 13th, 2023, 2 years in advance. He told me that. So when Gaza was taken 6 days before that, Israel, or the war began, uh, then now I realize that that was the trigger point for the whole thing of the massive merger, of the crash, or the changing of the system, the crashing of the old system, the bringing in of the new. That's what 13 means. Passing away of the old, the bringing of the new. So anyway, I don't know what all you heard me say, what we did hear say, but we're trying to keep it all straight so we're documenting all this stuff. Good questions about the I did not know about the convention, so I'm glad you brought that to me. Um, the division of the land, disagreement over Jerusalem, and attempts to impose the final solution for the conflict are viewed by some as markers for the approach of the last days. So, yeah, it definitely looks like it. It has great appearance to be. And with everything else going on with the red heifer thing and the temple and all the talk about the temple and how we are personally involved in that, prophetically speaking, and connections that God has given me, is proof that it is actually happening. It's actually happening. Now the timing exactly we don't know, but yeah, it's upon us for sure. All right. Anybody else got anything else you want to say or ask or share, or you can chat with me on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. I think you've been on Twitter too. I think we should be on Twitter. Yeah, we're on Twitter. Shows we're on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, TWITCH. Yeah. Okay, y'all. All right. So, all right. If you got a question, if you could ask it on. We have a hard time. We're gonna have a hard time hearing you if you're gonna talk to me by phone. So I know Jada had her hand up also, but she got on the chat and chatted with me there. If you could chat with me, I think that may be Tanisha on there. If you can chat with me with your question on whatever account you have. If you have an account, I don't know if you have an account for Facebook or Twitter, but if you can chat with me on that, uh, or maybe just start the conversation on chat or something. I'm not sure. But right now, I had to change my battery went out on my microphone, so now I have the audio completely changed. It's now on my computer instead of on my microphone, so I can't really put the microphone up to it and make it work right. So if you could chat that to me, that would be great. I don't know if you could be able to do that or not. is not everyone going to be able to hear that you guys. That's why I didn't take Jayla. Also, uh, she's had her hand up, but so chat with me on the video if you can. That would be awesome. All right, y'all. My whole audio situation changed on me, so I now have audio on my computer, which is right in front of me here. Um, so yeah, my sound is back on, but I my microphone completely went out on me. I'm not sure why the batteries went down for the last 3 or 4 hours, but it didn't. Okay. Are you not going to get on the social there on the Facebook or YouTube, Tanisha, if that's you, for the sound purposes? Because what I do to get the sound from uh, the call-in show to the video shows is I use that particular microphone, and now it's not working. All right. So text me if you can, or text me, or chat me. Question. She may be trying to get on her computer. I don't know. I can't tell. Because you can also, I think, chat. Wait a minute. Maybe I have the wrong phone. All right, try to get on chat with me and ask a question or whatever. Okay, we got Jeff. Jeff with a question here. You were saying earlier that Trump will remove the Iranian leadership, which will cause an issue with Russia. Um, no, that's probably what it sounded like, but that's not what I'm saying. Thanks for asking. I might have made it sound like that. It's not, I don't want to say just Trump, but Israel, mainly Israel, but Trump, of course, is getting in on it right now. And there's some distraction strategies that are happening. I have to say, there are some distraction strategies happening. Trump is quite a little distractor from the real issue. I'm not saying it in a wrong way, but I'm saying that Trump is. So I think the question, I really would really ask the question, was I saying that Iran and the U.S. or Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump remove the Iranian leadership, which will cause an issue with Russia? Um, I don't know if it's going to cause an issue with them, probably, but what I'm saying is that when Iran is taken over by another regime by the help of Azerbaijan and Iran and Israel, by the help of outside forces. Uh, in other words, what there's things that have to happen for a government to help another government get better leadership. That's a really big step to take. It's a really big step. So the fact uh, that they're working on that means that there's going to be certain things in play. and they're going to have to be really careful how they do it because it could cause a lot of problems. But anyway, the main thing that I was saying was that once Azerbaijan and Israel and Iran have worked and Azerbaijan, Israel, and the U.S. have worked together along with the European countries that favor Azerbaijan. Once they get new leadership in there, then it's the trigger point for Russia, prophetically speaking, I want to say. It's the trigger point for Russia to begin to make some moves, to do some things. Uh, because the dynamic of the Middle East when this happens, and it's a long time strategy going on that nobody's been able to talk about except me, I guess. And I only talk about it because God showed me this back many years ago, and I brought it up on our show on April the 15th, 2024, and then it all started happening on 34 days later, and now, uh, however long it's been since then, now with that they're starting to hit the nuclear sites was part of the other word that we gave on April the 15th on Monday, 2024. Okay, so it's hard to say all this stuff correctly that people can all get it, but no, I'm not really saying that it's going to be an issue with Russia. It probably will be an issue with Russia, but it's going to cause China, because what's going to happen is the Russia and China are probably talking tonight, going like, and that's Russia and China talking in my way. And they're saying to each other, if we don't join together soon, they're going to take us over too. If we don't join together soon, they're going to take over other countries. And, not necessarily them, but it's a threat to Russia and China's strategy of doing their thing with, the countries that are in sync with Russia and China. Uh, you know, they're it's going to cause them to say, man, we better move forward with our project before it get messed up. And that project is becoming, the really the antichrist system, the global system. That's the dictatorial global system. If that makes sense. And I don't know if Trump's going to be removing anybody, but they're working together doing it. Yeah. So I don't want to be heard saying that Trump did it. Uh, but he's part of the strategy. There's no doubt about it. They're working together with Azerbaijan. Trump part of the accelerating the end times and antichrist system. Yes, yes, we have said that before. That is true. Trump, I think that's the reason when he came down the escalator when he ran for president, and I told you guys about this way back then, that when he came down the escalator that day, I heard it plain as day, Antichrist. Because I knew he wasn't the Antichrist, I didn't really know what that meant, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think that's it. Trump is part of accelerating the end times and Antichrist system. That's Jeff saying that. Yes, Jeff, I think you're right about that. I think that's his purpose. And so here I'm rocking in my chair. I got a new chair because my other one broke. Um, yes, I think that's exactly right, Jeff. I think that's exactly right. So if you can chat me your question tonight, it'd be better than talking because I can't communicate that because my computer is way in front of me and that's where my audio is at right now. And I'm talking, my audio is in my computer and it's about 3 foot, 4 foot in front of me. And so I can't get so it doesn't work right now because my microphone is out. Oh, that was frustrating. The microphone thing. Yes, so I think that's it. I really do believe that Trump is he's got the personality to do all that. He just provokes people.
he wants to get things done. He's used to running things. So I think it's kind of funny in a way, uh, but that it's pretty amazing. It's actually God's working it all together. I think pretty well. So it's really happening. Yeah. So please text me your questions or chat them to me or something if you don't mind. The audio system just got messed up. Okay, so coming through the phone system right now on the call-in show is not going to work right now. I'm charging my microphone up right now. If it charges up, maybe I can pull it off there in a minute and we can reuse it and we can do that. Yeah, we have a wolf thing going on. You know, the wolf thing also can be in the negative side. The bad wolves, the good wolves are stirring up the bad wolves, and they're all wolves. So wolves are just wolves. They're very aggressive. They're vicious. They go for the jugular. Paul the apostle was one. You know, anybody preaches any of the gospel and what I preach, that'd be a curse. I mean, that's wolf talk, brother. That's some wolf talk. Donald Trump, I don't know where his name fits in or if he fits into the wolf thing, but his personality probably does. And they're talking about the good wolf, of course. Um, yeah. Can we prophesy any other safe states for the end other than Texas? There's going to be a lot of safe states other than Texas. Texas is just going to be the head of them all. Uh, can we prophesy any other safe states for the end time other than Texas? Uh, there are a lot of states like Florida. Florida is working on passing bills for the end time currency for our system, for the Texas system, for the freedom system. Um, and there's other states like Oklahoma and others. I can't name all the states right now. I'd have to look them up, but maybe somebody can look that up for me and I can report it for us. But yeah, there's other states. No, the thing that Texas is going to do, Texas isn't going to be the only safe state. It's going to be the only state that's running that's ahead of the other states. Colorado seems 50-50, could go either way. Yeah. I don't know what Colorado's going to do. It's true. I really don't have a word on Colorado. Maybe we need to pray about that, right? Maybe that's what you're saying is we need to pray about that for sure. Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that question because I think probably I present it like that sometimes, like I'm saying Texas is the only safe state. I really do think I probably make it sound like that, but that is not what I'm saying. Uh, thank you for. Let's make that really clear that we're saying that Texas is the state that's going to be head of the new system for the freedom system. And then there are other states. We will all protect each other. We're all going to protect one another and watch over each other. We're all going to be one big family around the globe. To the countries and the states around the globe that want our system and don't like Putin and China in the dictatorial system, we're all gonna join together. It just happens to be headed up in Texas because for some reason God decided that. I don't know. New York and California probably not safe. Uh, I would probably think so, but it sure looks like it. That could change. Some of that could change, I guess. But right now, it does look like California and New York could be an unsafe place to be, or it could be a dictatorial place to be. That's what I'm going to try to change the language to. When we talk about the Texas system, we're talking about a freedom system where people can come on who don't even believe in our Jesus and talk their religion. We're going to let them do that because we're the freedom one. But we can say Christ is the only way to the Father. The other system, the dictatorial system, not going to let us say Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father. Again, as I've repeated this several times, but they will allow you to talk about Jesus, like the Muslims talk good about Jesus, but they don't think he's Lord, right, or the Christ, or the only way to the Father. See, that's the big difference. That's why it's called antichrist. It's not anti-Jesus or anti-God. It's antichrist, and Christ represents the Messiah being the only way to the Father, and therefore they will reject that and accept everything else about Jesus except that. Therefore, it's not the true gospel. Therefore, they will be cursed. Paul the Apostle said, if anyone preaches the gospel when I preach, let him be accursed. And that's what that means. It will be antichrist. If we're looking, if I think we're looking a C-19 and who used draconian law and allowed for freedom to judge which states a Jesus kingdom friendly. Okay, I don't know what C-19 is. Draconian laws. Describes the measures. Okay. So I think that the draconian law thing allowed for freedom to judge which states a Jesus kingdom from the state. So what's gonna judge a Jesus friendly state is going to be if they can say Christ is the only way to the Father. Texas and Florida did not lock down; it were not required. Yes, I don't know. Yeah, that could be. I don't know about all that. Okay, the Corona C-19. I got you. The coronavirus. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Um, okay, Texas and Florida did not lock down, and we're not requiring the jabs. In other words, the coronavirus shot. It was a test. Okay, could very well be. Um, yeah. So we know what states will be friendly. Well, we know a couple of them that will be friendly, right? Uh, I don't know that. I don't know if that's the true test or not. It could be. You could be right, but I don't think Texas and Florida are going to be the. I think Oklahoma is going to be part of it. There's other states that are going to be part of it, which I prophesied that all along, saying that Texas was not the only one. There would be other states in America that would be, you know, uh, liberty-minded, and around the globe. That's what I repeated that, many times, trying to make it clear that it's not just Texas, but it's other states in America, in the U.S., and around the globe that are Jesus is the only way to the Father friendly, but allow other religions to speak their mind if they want. Right. The Antichrist system will not allow that. So that's going to boil it down to who's Jesus friendly is who allows which systems allow us to say Jesus Christ is the only way to the Father or he is the Christ, and yet allow others to say that he's not. Right. Trying to guess ahead of time or to move. Okay. Oh, I got you. Yeah, I think that I don't know what all states. I don't. I'll have to do a search on that. I really don't know the states um, that are part of that. Um, Okay, hang on a second here. A little look. All right. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that for a moment here. Um, Texas established the nation's first state-run bullion depository, providing secure storage for precious metals and working to become the major commodities hub. Just like what we've been saying. Utah was the first state to declare gold and silver coins as legal tender, encouraging other states to pursue similar steps. Wyoming created a multi-million-dollar state gold reserve and reaffirmed legal tender status for gold and silver. Tennessee advancing legislation for a state gold reserve, building on previous tax eliminations for precious metals. Alabama removed state sales and capital gains taxes on precious metals, and of April 2025 reaffirmed gold and silver as legal tender. Idaho passed historic capital gains tax relief, precious metals, and reaffirmed their status as legal tender. Kentucky retroactively removed sales tax on gold and silver with new protections for buyers and taxpayers. Nebraska repealed capital gains tax on gold and silver sales, also revised its definition of money to explicitly include central bank digital currency. Uh, Other states actively advancing or considering similar legislation to promote sound money and reduce taxes on bullion include Arizona, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, West Virginia, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Iowa, Maine, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota. So, I don't know that all those people are going to end up doing. So you're going to have a lot of states that are going to be into, the new currency. Not that they'll all be connected to Texas, but a lot of them will be. Texas is going to prove itself because we now have the Texas Stock Exchange going on that will be applicable July 2026. And so a lot of the states are going to see how powerful Texas will be, and they already are calling it. So they're already being called the hub. That's what they're calling them, the hub, which is what we said we were going to be, 5 years ago. And it's all coming together for that, no doubt. All right. So I don't know that the jab test was a true test for that or not. It's sure it's like take a test. Sometimes you have to take different tests to prove different parts. So I'm not sure I think that that's a true test for the whole country, but it definitely didn't look good for everybody. A lot of people were just deceived, I think, but we'll see. All right, y'all. I guess I'm going to call it a night tonight. Thanks for those questions. Anybody else getting any other questions? You can try to answer. We talked about bullion tonight a little bit. Um, the satellite thing's going to be really big. From Israel dividing the land being divided in Israel as a end time prophecy from the conference we're having in the UN. That was a good talk, I thought. So, if you have a question, please get on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and ask me. If I don't get any more questions, I'm going to call it a night tonight. I do have people in the call room with their hand up, but I'm not going to take that tonight. And Jayla had her hand up. That's why I asked her to give me a text or give me so we could do our visiting on that. So hopefully my microphone will be working better by tomorrow. I don't usually, the battery doesn't usually go down on it. I don't know what happened. So, oh my goodness. I just realized this plugged in. Oh, I think everything was unplugged today for a while. That's right. I forgot about that because anyway, it didn't matter. But all right, y'all. Can I text interesting info? Yeah, you can text interesting info. But I need it to be, don't just send me a bunch of stuff that's, conspiracy theory stuff. And I mean, send me stuff that's documented if you can. Because I don't have time to filter through everything. So make sure if you did, please send me stuff that is documented and not just hearsay. Unless you got a prophet saying something, which it wouldn't be hearsay. It could be hearsay, but if a prophet's saying something, or some people who have a lot of knowledge and they're known, then let me know about that. Yeah, that would be awesome. All right. Okay. Jeff says, ask GPT states and countries working on gold and silk currency. Texas Bullion Depository open. Okay, I read all that. Okay, I read all that. Yes, thank you. So you're just confirming it. Okay, some lawmakers have supported gold and silver. Any particular thing you want me to bring up? Countries. Okay, there's a country. I didn't see the country thing. Countries, BRIC countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Proposed BRICS currency. A potential. That's new news. That's a good one, Jeff. Okay, gotcha. That's a good one. Uh, yeah, the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, proposed BRICS currency, a potential gold or commodity-backed currency to compete with USD in the global trade. Uh, Target reduce reliance on US dollar for international settlements. Russia prompting gold-backed trade with BRICS and allies, developing alternatives to SWIFT and exploring gold-linked financial tools. China building up gold reserves and launching digital yuan, ECNY, long-term strategy. Internationally, the yuan potentially backed by commodities. I don't know what all that means exactly, but Iran exploring gold-based trade to avoid U.S. sanctions and dollar exposure. Zimbabwe launched gold-backed digital tokens. ZIG 2023 stabilized its currency. Venezuela has tried oil-backed cryptocurrency Petro to bypass sanctions though largely failed. Okay, honorable mention: Central Africa Republic adopted Bitcoin, explored local crypto coin, Sango coin. El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, though not backed by gold or commodities. Okay, I'm not sure what all that means exactly, but that's some great info. That we're documenting this stuff would be really cool. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so great, really good stuff tonight. You can text me or shoot me something from the video. That would be awesome. Okay. Yeah. Really cool. That's good on the BRICS, on the countries, on the BRIC countries. BRICS, BRICS. Yeah, Africa is pretty big, and even the satellite situation over Africa, only a small portion of Africa has approved of Elon Musk, uh, Starlink or SpaceX. Very small portion of Africa. Very interesting. Okay. Late nighters like me, man, pumping it out. Awesome. Okay, so been a great night. Talked about a lot of different things. I got a lot of stuff documented toward the uh, Azerbaijan situation. Uh, Iranian citizens request Azerbaijan help. Okay. Wow, we are covering stuff, man. I'm getting where I do it stuff on my computer, and then I just start reading it so that way I don't forget anything, or I say it the proper way, and then I say it my way. All right. So I have this stuff edited for me, and so I can say it clearly and legally, actually, basically. All right, y'all. I think that's it for tonight. Nobody else has anything else to say. So I'm not getting any new texts from anybody, and nobody's new coming on to do the chat thing and chatting your questions. So maybe you've all fallen asleep. I don't know. But let's call it a night. 11:24. All right, y'all. Well, I would document some more stuff, but I'm just like, man, that just like got me going. All right, good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.